Tonight on 8.5-bit, we go to an open world, we go to a less open world, and we go to an even less open world. Welcome, friends of all designs, to episode 303 of 8.5-bit in its fancy new look. And by fancy, we mean remote, because of reasons. And this may be the look from now on. Now, the games in the intro were, of course, Elden Ring, Pokemon Arceus, which is the correct way of saying it. I just got to pick any other game here that's a bit linear. Shadow Warrior 3. There we go. Done.
Why would you not pick Elasto Mania?
Elasto Mania! Or Far Changing Tides, or Grapple Dog. I should pick Grapple Dog because that's got two things I love: pixels and
See, now
art.
we have to talk about all those games you've listed.
We will. That's what we do with this show. Welcome to the show. Mm-hmm. I am your host Paul, and joining me tonight are my good friends James.
Hello.
And Sam.
Hello.
And hopefully this is all working, and you can hear and see, and it's fine.
I can hear and see you.
Yeah. So, how's it been in the last, I don't know, since the last episode? A very long time.
Been like a month or something.
Yeah.
Right?
I think the 360 had just released at the last episode. But now we are back. This is going to be hopefully a pretty regular episode, and things might change a bit from here on in. But we don't even know yet, so we'll find out. But hopefully a bit more regular again.
Yeah, this is hopefully a bit more of a parent-friendly way to record.
Yeah, yes. We are all... Well, no, we're not all old middle-aged men. One of us is younger.
Oh, no, I'm in my 30s now.
Yeah, how long do you plan to live?
Don't know.
So we don't know. Maybe.
Could be middle-aged.
Yeah. I'm going to take an executive decision here at the top of the show, and that is that we are going to talk about Elden Ring later in the show.
Last?
Yeah, maybe last. Not because it's going to be necessarily spoilery. It'll probably be a little bit long. But also, I think if you're interested in it, you're going to want to get into that, and I think everyone else might be sick of fucking hearing about it. So there's my executive choice at the beginning, because there's been a lot of Elden Ring in the last couple of weeks, for good reason. So let's jump in with some other things. What were the other games I said in the intro? I can't start with Pokemon.
Shadow Warrior 3.
Arceus.
Shadow Warrior. I can
3.
do Shadow Warrior 3 quickly. Did you briefly look at it, James?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so Shadow Warrior 3, which is, of course, the fourth game, is Shadow Warrior Moniker on it. At least the fourth main one, because it was 2 expansions to the original one. So I guess it's the third.
Did you ever go in and play the non-shareware episodes of Shadow Warrior?
Look, James, I think I had them, but much like most games of that period, all the good levels were pretty much in the first 3 levels.
Yes, that was 100% it. Like, I went and eventually got it, and was like, yeah, let's just play the rest of this game. That first level was real good. Yeah, they stopped trying after that, after the first episode, don't they?
Well, that's because especially the first. Same with Duke 3D. Really, the first level is like has all this interactivity and games to do and things to discover, and it's like, wow! If this is what's the first level, what could the whole game contain? It's like, well, the rest is just shooting things,
like the show level.
Yes, exactly. It's like big tech demo. So anyway, they rebooted Shadow Warrior back in 2006, I think the first one was. But it wasn't 3D Realms anymore. Devolver Digital had the rights, and they gave them to Flying Wild Hog, who had made Hard Reset before that. And they just make a first-person shooter where you shoot shit. And they did. It was pretty good. And then they said, do it again. And they made it a looter shooter that time. It was okay.
Yeah, it was like a weird socket system, wasn't it? Like it was like the guns were all the same, but you socketed out how they behaved.
And it was very much one of those shooters, because it's co-op, which it was fun. I had lots of fun with it. But I do remember at the end of every mission, everyone spending approximately 10 minutes going through every piece of shit they collected and resocketing it and just like trying to work, because there's a whole elemental damage system. So it's like, oh, well, I'll have an Uzi that just does electricity, but I want electricity up in my RPG, so I'll switch it. And it was tedious.
Yeah, and I like looter shooters, and that one didn't get me.
Look, I think all looter shooters have problems with interfaces. I don't think I've ever had one where I was like, wow, this tells me all the information that I need and it's so easy to do. The best ones are just ones that have streamlined, of just like, no, we've got rid of all your shit already. We've filed it off on another thing. You can look through it, but you just push the sell button. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. And then you just get used to the interface eventually. I don't know if I've ever had one where I looked at it immediately and said, I understand what all of this does. It's hard. It's because they're all completely arbitrary made-up systems that don't make any sense.
I think this is why in Diablo they just boil it down to the bigger number.
Yeah. And a lot of people a lot of companies started doing that, just putting like a DPS next to everything. It's like, but that only tells half a story, really.
Like if you want to dig into it, you can, but...
Yeah. It's like, just make the number as big as possible. Anyway, so Shadow Warrior 3 drops the looter shooter stuff completely, and it's back to linear, but it's even more linear than the first one. It's really just an arena shooter now. It's straight up, go to an arena, have a fight with a few waves of enemies that teleport in, then get a straight path where you get to do a bit of platforming in, but it's very direct platforming. It's like, use grappling hook, jump on a wall run along here, slide. Not a lot to it. It feels fine. The movement feels really good, but there's like no exploration in the game whatsoever. But what they did was basically play Doom Eternal and do that, with a couple of key differences. The key difference being it's nowhere near as strict as Doom Eternal was. So remember how when you got a new enemy in Doom Eternal, they're like, look at this cool thing, and they like do the zoom in and like, oh, that's great. Now, by the way, you got to shoot this part with this gun first, and after that you can take it out with another weapon. And it's like, cool. Thanks for letting me work that out, game. So they don't do that in Shadow Warrior. Every weapon works fine against any enemy. It's just the circumstance they're in, which is good. It made me feel a bit more freeform. So I got kind of bored of Eternal because of that.
So there's no story at all tying this thing together?
Oh, shit, there's story.
Okay.
In fact, I had to go back because I had no recollection of the story of 2, because I just... looter shooted. I was like, what? 2 got weird. 2 ended with the release of a giant dragon and Lo Wang getting eaten.
Oh, okay.
That was the end. And so now, several years later, they came in with a slightly different, still shooter, but different take on shooter. And it starts pretty much from that moment. So what happened at the end of 2 was the Shadow Realm and the Earth Realm get combined. They get smashed together, and then a giant dragon is destroying everything. And you're trying to kill it, but you're a tiny little man, and it's a giant dragon. And you spend the entire game trying to take down that dragon. That's the plot.
Okay.
They got the, if you remember Hoji from the first game, the demon friend that went around with you, he's back in alive again form. He's funny. I don't know. It's like a lighthearted game, but I don't think I ever laughed. I didn't find it annoying. It's not like,
does the world...
It's not killer jokes.
Does it just feel like arenas, a collection of arenas?
100%.
Okay.
Like you walk through the door and you're like, okay, well, it's like Doom Eternal. You know, you get to the room and you're like, well, the fight's about to start because I walk in here and the door will shut behind me.
Doom Eternal still did a pretty decent job at making the arenas feel like some cohesive environment.
I disagree, but they were often contained in more cohesive environments. Like, it wasn't... Doom Eternal wasn't just straightforward, go through path, arena, go through path, arena.
Yeah, that's sort of what I mean. Like, it was very obvious that, yes, you're in an arena, but the way those things were kind of linked together made it feel like, oh, yeah, this is a level that I'm working through.
Yeah, not at all in Shadow Warrior 3. Just doesn't concern itself at all. And it's kind of fine. I kind of get bored of arena shooters, but this thing's about, I don't know, say 7 hours long.
Okay, not too bad.
And I pretty much just blasted through it in, I think, like 2 sessions. And I was just having a lot of fun because it does... So it's I'm playing it on PC, mouse and keyboard. Left mouse button shoots your gun. Right mouse button swings your sword. So you never have to pull your sword out. You've always got it there. Melee attacks give you ammo. Range attacks give you health.
Okay.
Off we go. Simple system. You build up a meter that gives you finishing moves, executions. But it's not like Doom. It's not like you whittle something's health down and then you run up and you execute it. As soon as you've got enough meter, and it gets to 3 levels, at the highest level you can take out, other than the couple of bosses in the game, you can just take out any enemy, no matter how tough it is. You just go up to it, push the execute button, and you do it. Doom-style animation, a bit longer, because they don't happen as frequently as they do in Doom. So a couple of seconds, and then you're left with a dead enemy and either its weapon or part of its dismembered body to use as a weapon. And obviously, the bigger enemies you do, they have more powerful weapons. So there are a few of them, especially, that I'd hold on to that power until the enemy was full of bastards I didn't want to fight, and then grab my favorite weapon and just slay through them in a couple of seconds. So good ebb and flow to it. It's like double jump, slides, grappling hook. You don't really have to touch the ground that much if you don't want to. It's just really fast and kinetic, and you get there's upgrades to weapons, but they're not it's not like a tree. It's just like, do this like each gun's got 3 upgrades, and you go 1, 2, 3. There's no choice to it. But weirdly, playing casually, I didn't get all the upgrades in the game. They seem to be pretty much, you've got to find everyone to get everyone. So I had to make choices at the end about what I actually wanted. But they got good stuff like headshots with the pistol. If you upgrade that fully, it makes every enemy around its head also explode. So that's fun. And the shotguns, I think they call it riot gun in this. So it starts, it's just like, oh, shoot faster. Like, just hold down and you'll shoot. Okay, great. And then it's like more ammo. And then I think the last one is, don't need to reload. And so you've just got a powerful shotgun that you can just hold down until you have no more ammo. And it churns through every enemy in the game that churned through, and I loved it. And because you're so mobile, like, there's flying enemies and everything, but I'm launching myself in the air and just like circling, shotgunning something while I'm gliding through the air. I'm like, this game is fucking cool. Lots of the enemies are really, really well designed. Like, they're just wacky shit I haven't seen before. There's these twins that have got like pointy hats that are drills, so they drill under the ground. They're actually the worst enemies in the game to fight, but I got used to it. It's fine. But maybe my favorites, there's the Slinky Jakku, which is like an accordion that like cackles manically and it moves around like a slinky accordion through the level. And it's like, it's great. Don't really know why, but it's great.
Because it's fun.
Yeah, it looks cool. Very easily readable enemies. Lots of environmental damage you can do. So as I say, they're arenas. He'll be like, hey, this arena for some reason has a big spiked roller in the middle of it that activates when you shoot a button. And again, they don't care what enemies you put in there. So you get the toughest guys that might take you a few good clips to take down. It's all single hits because they got crushed by a giant roller. It's like really satisfying combat, which I had a lot of fun with. Couple of really weird bugs. Yeah. I had to like verify the Steam files like 3 times during my playthrough because like I'd just get level that would just crash. I'm like, oh. So I don't know if that was a game thing or some weird thing with me. But the worst one was the last cutscene didn't play. So like fighting the last boss, I go in for the killing blow, and it just goes credits. Okay.
Ballsy move.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
like
the
a
deepest,
cliffhanger ending.
Yeah, it's not the deepest. Well, that's the thing, because the last game was a cliffhanger. But I'm like, but there's a cast of characters here that are like in the middle of doing something. I want to see what this resolves at. But then because I was playing it pre-release, once it released, I went onto YouTube and watched someone else finish the game, and there was indeed a cutscene there. Wonder if I missed any other ones. I didn't notice anything else lacking. So it's like, it's very good combat. But, it doesn't have anything to do other than just play the game again. I didn't even notice good chapter selection or anything. You just sort of just got to play it again.
My question is, now that you have played 4 Shadow Warrior games, what is a Shadow Warrior game?
It's got a variably racist of different degrees main character. That is
that is a defining.
that's what it is.
Defining
That's the funny
aspect.
thing. You play a man named Lo Wang, like the penis, and you fight. Well, especially now, it's just demons. Used to be people and demons, but now it's just demons. It was one of those things because they got rid of the voice actor that did the last two games, and they got in the guy that played Bruce Lee in
Once Upon a Time.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And he does a fine job, but apparently it's one of those things where all the pre-release material had the other guy, and they did like, oh well, maybe we'll be, and I'm using this in quotes. I don't really speak like this, but we're going to be woke and be aware of the fact that we have a white guy playing our Asian character. So they hired this completely competent actor, but I think some of a lot of the animation had already been done with the old sync, so it's a little bit off. But also, I don't care that much. It was fine. But then you got all the kickback of like, oh yes, but Lo Wang's Chinese and he's Korean. I'm like, oh, okay, we're doing this. Okay, good. This isn't going to be exhausting. And then when I was like checking, most of Shadow Warrior is Japanese, so I don't actually know what any of them are supposed to be. I think the whole thing is just vaguely
Oriental.
Yeah, I was about to say Oriental. I had to get my fingers up the big quotes around it because, I don't think it's specific enough, which is, again, its own form of racism. Oh, I'm a bit hot there. Just going to turn down my mic slightly. There we go. Okay, so great. Fun. It's not quite a full-price game, but it's still mostly full-price game, so, if you really just like shooting stuff and having fun, worth it, but otherwise, I think it's still worth playing, but not there. No, you probably just wait for a little bit. There's a lot of good stuff to play at the moment. Some of which we'll be talking about tonight. Okay. Man, this seems so much more formal.
Well, it's because we have to deal with latency again. I'm having to remember how this used to work.
Just talk.
Yeah.
You start talking.
Just start talking and then just railroad over whoever's talking.
Exactly.
Make a lot of noise.
Yeah, the strongest talker wins. That's what we do.
Yeah. So Paul's going to talk the whole time.
It's the Paul show.
Okay, everyone, I'm going to talk to you about Pokemon Arceus now. Yes, Pokemon Arceus.
I love to hear this one.
Pokemon is back, and this time you've come from the future to the past. And no one's captured Pokemon before. In fact, they're a bit weirded out by it, but you've come from a world where Pokemon are like totally cool, rad. And you got to go and fill up your decks with all the Pokemon.
So
it's not just collecting.
Are you sowing the seeds of oppression? Is this what's happening? Like...
Yeah.
No, the Pokemon like it. Shut up.
They do, because it turns out that it's the Pokemon that have the ability to get small, so they wouldn't do it if they didn't want to be captured. Right?
Is that actually like the lore thing of it?
That's what they state, yeah.
Oh, cool.
They reveal that the reason that they shrink down and can be in the balls, even when they're not technologically advanced Pokeballs, they're just bits of wood made out of acorns.
Yeah, because
every single Pokemon has the ability to shrink to a tiny size, which means they're just in the ball. Just
is that because they crave oblivion?
Possibly, I don't know.
Okay.
Every Pokemon is a masochist.
I can talk more about Arceus, but it's all fraudulent for I have not played it. And also...
I mean, everything you just said is correct.
Oh, yeah. I know shit about this game. In fact, many people have almost sold me on this game. I was like, oh, could I? And then I'm like, nah. I'll just look forward to Kirby instead. Because they're very similar games.
It's understandable.
Yeah. I can't play in too many Switch games at once. So, Sam, I assume you're the only one who's actually played it.
I have a lot of time in Arceus. I haven't finished it yet. I'm getting there. But there sure is a lot to do to finish it. Mm-hmm. Because you actually have to finish the Pokédex to finish the game, which is fun.
And how many Pokemon are there in this one?
That's a good question. I think it's 240, I think. I think it's about that, yeah. Which is... The thing is like... the completion isn't actually catching every single Pokemon. You have to actually do extra tasks to complete the entry in the Pokedex. So like catching it is one part of it, but you might have to like catch a small one and catch a large one, or watch a Pokemon using specific moves 5 times and things like that to complete like little mini quests for each one.
It's almost a little slightly Pokemon Snappish in some of that.
It's a completionist stream, effectively, or nightmare.
Well, no, what you just described to me just really turned me off.
Yeah. So like there's a lot to do, but you only need to get 10 points in each entry, and then if you really want to, you can completely finish it.
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, Sam, but as far as because you're going to need to get 10 points in there, so there's more points to get than that, so you can kind of choose how your preference of interaction.
Yeah, you can pick and choose like which things you want to complete. Some things give you double the like points, as it were, the first time you do them. So
like
it's not
some
too
people
bad. Like it's a really quick process. Yeah, you can do the whole game without fighting.
Okay, hold on. So you complete the game by finishing the Pokedex,
core fights,
correct?
Yep.
And
to completely complete it, yes.
Okay, so is there like
there is like a separate story?
Oh, okay, the story you don't have to complete the Pokedex.
Yes, correct. The effectively completing the Pokedex allows you to then encounter Arceus.
Yep.
Which then, is the full finish. But you can do like the whole storyline without, being a completionist and doing everything. Which works out okay. But I would argue as a Pokemon game, and the way I looked at it before it even came out, it's pretty much locked in now, is that this was always going to be a spin-off game. And I kind of hope they do more for the other regions. Because this is like... It's the old region of Diamond and Pearl, and I think there's a lot of other like old lore they could explore in the other regions. But what I most describe it as is, if you like the idea of Pokemon, especially like from the cartoon and not the games, and you don't like the mainline games and how they work, you might like this. Because it is very different from the main games.
I was almost sold on it from talking to both you, Sam, and a few other people. I'm like, because I don't hate the idea of Pokemon, I just get very bored very quickly with it. And
the formula is very samey.
No one cared that it was ugly once it came out. I've noticed that'll disappear.
No.
Because it is.
Pretty much. Like it. The thing is, like, the world is very ugly and kind of clear-cut and simple. But that's because they've put all their effort into how the Pokemon look and how all the moves look. Like, some of the move animations are really, really good this time around. They're not just, generic, everything looks the same, which is what a lot of the mainline games have been.
The next Pokemon, which is coming out this year as well, which was Pokemon...
Which is Scarlet and Violet.
Scarlet Violet, yeah. It's like, there's already been a Ruby, isn't there? Yeah.
So
Scarlet
Gen
Violet.
9.
And that's back to the standard formula?
Yes and no. So it's a mainline Pokemon game, so I'm expecting like the standard, the old battle system probably, and maybe the old catching system, but they have said it's fully open world.
Okay.
Like it is Arceus level open world.
Because Arceus isn't fully open world really. It's a bit more Monster Hunter-y, isn't it?
It's regional, yeah. It's Monster Hunter, but like each region is pretty large.
Yeah, but I believe what they've said,
it is like completely open, no transitions, no load.
And a bit Harry Pottery. Seem to be around a school and doing things related with that. Yeah,
well, it looks to be, not looks to be, it is based on Spain. It's a Spanish region.
It's for you, James.
There is more than enough hints that it's based in Spain. There's a lot of like the kind of Catholic Church kind of architecture going on.
Can you say Pokemon in Spanish,
and the map
James?
Looks pretty much like the Spanish map.
Pokemon. Pokemon.
So it'll be interesting to see how they take what they've done with Arceus and like merge it back into the mainline games, like what they've learned from doing Arceus effectively.
But
by itself, Arceus is a fun time.
Yeah, my only concern with the new game is that it is coming out bloody fast. It's like, have they had time to learn from Arceus? It's like, maybe.
The way, I don't know how they do their development, because it was kind of like, we got the wild area in Sword and Shield, and then we got the DLC for the wild area, which was more open, which definitely seemed to be a test for what they did with Arceus. And then they've obviously been working on Scarlet and Violet at the same time.
Yeah, and it's not that big of a company. That's what I find weird. That they must have overlap because it would be they have to. I mean, the bloody Arceus just came out and they're showing off, so of course there's overlap. Or they're the world's most amazing developers that can develop a game in 2 months.
Which we know they're not.
No, we know they're not. They made that Trumbo the Elephant game, didn't they? And remember Town? People were very excited for Town.
Yes, I remember Town. That was a game that exists.
It did. And doesn't exist anymore. Strange.
Yeah.
But, Pokemon Arceus is available for purchase now at your favorite Pokemon store. Okay, shall we talk about some things that have happened?
There's not much has happened though, right?
It's a small list.
Okay, we'll go through. Maybe we skip some things because it's been a long time, and this list isn't conclusive. It's just things that came up in this list as the various times we tried to record this episode. First up, Sony buys Myth.
Finally,
that's right. The weirdest acquisition that I can recall. Sony bought Bungie. So Bungie has been owned by a lot of people.
Everyone at this point, almost.
Yeah, almost all the big players. They just need Nintendo to swoop in for a final purchase. And it was, I don't remember how much now, something like 10 billion or something?
Just 10. See, like now numbers are meaningless.
Oh, numbers are so meaningless. And the best thing is they paid for it in ruples, so beautiful. Yes, but it's the weirdest deal that I have. I have a theory on the deal. My theory was that Sony was investing in Bungie, and they accidentally bought too much stock, and turned out
they accidentally got it. I think it's they're not so much buying Destiny. The feeling I had was that they were buying the kind of like live service experience, because like I don't think Destiny 2 is changing. Like it's not going exclusive Sony or anything like that.
Nothing they're making is going exclusive. They've been very clear about that. And also, they retain the right to self-publish. So Sony's not even fucking necessarily publishing their stuff.
Surely some of it has to just be so that they can say they now own like the OG Xbox.
Yeah. Was it a spite purchase?
Yeah. Look, there's got to be some small part of that choice.
What they really hammered on as the thing that Sony was interested in the extended multimedia possibilities. You know, like spinning up Destiny shows and such, which sounds just awful to me, but we'll find out. It was like, look, it's making money, and maybe that's why I said, like, it just seemed like an investment to me. And surely they'll be tightly integrated and they'll use it in marketing and all that stuff. But it was the most hands-off like acquisition that I've ever. They were so specific about it. Like they put in a lot of money to also retain all the current employees. Like, no, you're still entirely independent. We're not going to do anything. Like, you should do something. You spent $10 billion. You should get something out of this.
You're just throwing money away.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Because I don't think Destiny 3 is coming anytime soon.
No,
more reports.
I don't.
Destiny 3 is now in Destiny 2 already.
I think
all
so.
the plans they had have been rolled into it.
Yeah, I mean, just while we're on Bungie, I have had a look at the latest Destiny 2 expansion.
Something about a witch.
Yeah, Witch Queen, something witch. I don't know, something like it was something about a witch in there.
Lutwitch.
And I only want to mention it briefly because I've only played like 1.5 missions. But I will say, from what I've played of it so far, it's Bungie. They've done a good job at setting up the story in this one. Like they've realized, like, all right, we need a big bad. We need to know some kind of, like have some kind of like interesting thing going on. Someone you got to kill. Like there's not like kind of like this nebulous like plot of like what are you trying to do. It's like, no, I'm trying to get whatever her name is, the Witch Queen. There's weird tears in time. Like, okay, cool. You got me kind of interested. What I don't know yet is the problem I've had with the expansions in the past is like they have interesting story content, but then eventually you hit grind walls. And so I was like, oh, okay, I've got to go off and do this like activity for 4 hours before I can, have the light level high enough to kind of get past this. What I think they've done this time is that when you play a mission, you can pick to do it like standard or legendary difficulty. So if you do just want to play through it, you can. That's the impression I have with it so far. Because like at least the very first mission I played, it felt kind of nicely balanced jumping into it. Like it just felt kind of good.
Isn't the trick with Destiny to just play one expansion behind, because the new expansion they bump your light level?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's the way to do it. But like I did not like what was it, Beyond Light, the last one.
That sounds entirely possible.
Yeah, but so far this one's actually like it sounds like it looks like they've done some good changes. They've revamped one of the classes or one of the subclasses to like this completely different system. So it's like it used to be sort of like this tree that you'd pick through, and it was like a really simple tree. Where now it's like you're just like assigning abilities, and like I can see there's like a lot more option for like interesting builds that are going to come out of it. But they've only done it for like one subclass, so I assume just with going forward they'll be doing the other ones. But as someone that has not played Destiny 2 in a long time and did not like the last DLC, this one feels a lot better. The only reason I haven't played it more is it's not the most parent-friendly game because there's no mid-mission saving. So, you get 10, 15 minutes in if you have to go. And like, oh, well, guess I'm starting it again.
Bloody parents. They're the worst. All right, what was that? Now, finally, there was a Sony presentation on GT7, which is now out.
Yeah.
So we probably don't need to talk about that, because also I don't think any of us have any interest in playing it because we're not car people.
No. I
know someone who has many hours in it already, but other than that,
who I'm pretty sure is going to buy himself a big rig soon for this thing.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, so some of the
possibly
some of the costs if you want to buy the cars in the games, like you can earn them in game and everything, but like if you actually buy the credits to do this, it's like this car's $120. It's like
so just buy an actual car.
Yeah, that's what they cost, right?
It's the scale's still a little different, but but this is the thing with those games. I don't play them. No one I really know does. But then every once in a while, I meet someone that's like, "Oh yeah, I need a new racing game. I'm going to buy a PS5. What do I buy?" And like, because they just upgrade every 10 years or so, and all they do is buy one game and a racing wheel, and that's their entire interest.
I mean, I kind of put this thing in the same category as like Flight Simulator. Like it's for a particular kind of person. Like it wants a particular kind of racing game. Like I'm going to be playing, Horizons. That's what I want. And this is not for me. This is for people who really like cars.
Oh, there was an announcement by Rockstar. They said they're going to make GTA 6. And the internet went on fire.
Did they say they're going to make it if everyone stops paying the money in GTA 5?
They didn't comment on that one. But no, probably not. So they pretty much announced it like a couple of days before their stockholder.
Yeah, so it was
It's like just to placate people, but then they released how much money they made off the HD remaster trilogy, which everyone hated, and it turns out they made a shitload of money. So
this is a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't think they really needed to do anything. So weirdly enough, the sequel to one of the most successful games of all time is still going to be made one day. That's it. I've got the word Stadia written here. I think that was to say that Stadia is basically dead.
I think it's basically dead, but not technically dead. Like I think they kind of trying to pivot it into being something else.
Well, it's kind of what we said ages ago with it. Like it's still going to exist as a technology that other people will license, but I think the actual I'm going to sign up for Stadia just is not going to exist anymore. Yeah. But this is so long ago, don't remember what the actual story was. Good work. Wordle got bought by the New York Times or Post. Which one's the good one? Shit.
Times. New York Times.
The Times, yes. And it's joined them in the whole daily crosswords and that sort of stuff that they do. They said it was going to be behind their paywall, but they haven't done that yet. But they have taken ownership of it.
They I noticed too that when they did, everyone got annoyed. The words started getting harder, even though they never changed the word list.
I mean, I suppose this is
Like,
what it
Wordle
is.
amuses me.
Yeah. I do find it funny when people, because there'll be just like days where I go, oh, that today's word was bullshit. I go in and it's like, it's the same as every other day. It's a 5-letter word that
It's a
exists.
5-letter word. Sometimes it's an American spelling.
Yeah. Which, and I gotta say, I'm pretty used to American spelling on things too. It's not crazy.
So-
I remember cork being a big one.
So how many people do you know are actually playing Wordle versus how many are playing knockoffs?
Well, my mother started saying, "Oh, I'm doing Wordle," and posting new daily word challenge on Facebook. I'm like, it's not Wordle. Like, it's exactly the same. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it's technically not the same.
Because
And then she just called me a pedantic cunt. And
I mean, she's not wrong.
no.
Everyone I know who like heavily got into Wordle and is still playing it is also playing knockoffs.
Yeah.
They haven't replaced it.
Oh,
They're
it's
just
like on
playing
top
all
of,
of the versions. Yeah. They're like, Wordle's not enough. I need 7 other things.
You need Quaddle or
mean-
or Squirtle or
Squirtle, I'm down.
Well, Hurdle is the good one that everyone's on now, apparently,
Oh,
where
what's
you
Hurdle?
guess a track. You hear
Oh,
like
is that the
5
music
seconds
one?
of a song at a time
Ah.
and have to guess a track. Yeah.
That doesn't seem the same, but oh well. It just seems like gamifying the secret sound. B105 secret sound.
pretty much, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Wordle's fine. I like Wordle because it is only one thing a day.
yeah.
That's it. And
I stopped playing it because I'm a programmer and I looked into how it works and ruined it for myself.
But why would you even need to? Why would you even need to look at it to know how it works? It's
Yeah, but like
I'm sure-
specifically how it's built.
I'm sure. Didn't he build it in like 2 hours or something?
He did, yeah, because it was just for his girlfriend.
Yeah, all the clones are built in 1 hour, so they go to less thinking. Because I remember there was an article about like, oh, you could see all the future words because they're just there in the source code.
Of course you can.
It's like, yeah, you can, yeah, because
How else is it going to do it? It's just a list of
yeah,
words.
like
Enjoy.
if you want to get every day in one go, you don't have to look at the source code to do that, guys. It's just an
You
unchanging.
just open it in another browser, right?
Like, this isn't rocket surgery. The whole point isn't to be, I'm a genius that knows the word. It's just to do the... Anyway. I'm a master at the New York crossword. I just look up the answers every day and write them in. I'm a genius. Okay, good work. Anyway, Wordle's a thing that existed. Now it's owned by something else, and he got paid a lot of money, so good for him.
Not bad for a weekend work.
Yes. Mina, the Halawa. It must be Halawa. Or was it Halawa? Now I'm just going to check my spelling on this. It's been a while. This was Yacht Club's new game got announced, and they're kickstarting it. I wonder if the Kickstarter... It is Halawa. I just wrote it wrong. Good work, me. It's a Kickstarter currently, I believe, and they're basically just kickstarting it because they're doing what they did with Shovel Knight and just using it as an excuse to build a community, and they're going to be developing it for a long time. I think on that, as time of recording, there must be some time left on it. It wasn't that long ago. They've well passed their goals. Maybe it is closed. I can't see. Follow on. Anyway, yeah. So they're still retro thing, but they're doing it with like a Game Boy Color aesthetic, which people fucking hated. Except for me, I thought it looked great.
It looks good.
Yeah. And just with like a sort of an underground burrowing dash ability, and otherwise sort of like a Zelda-like. Yacht Club are just great, and I will be there for all their stuff. Yeah, it looks like maybe I missed out on pledging to it. I meant to pledge to it. God damn it. I'm gonna go cry now. Oh well, I'm over it. Yeah, see, if we'd done the show, I would have remembered. Yeah, so that's cool. That's coming. They're doing it'll probably be another 10 years of it, and I bet you that Shovel Knight's in the game because he's in everything. Okay, cool thing that happened the other day. It's not happening yet, but it's on its very clear way. There's a bit of a concerted effort to get Vita games running on the Switch, and it's not really emulation.
All right.
Yeah, they're kind of more similar than I previously thought. So they're basically getting code running natively on the Switch, which
It is very similar hardware.
Yeah, which I
The
wasn't really aware
internals.
of. Yeah. So that would be cool because there are just a couple of like Vita games that are like exclusive, and that screen, especially on the OLED Switch, is big and nice.
I would like another Loco Roco game.
Yeah. And, it looks so nice on there. Come on, let's do it. Come on, Sony, just make it for the Switch. You're not doing mobile anymore. Just fucking make it for the Switch. Rimworld, 8 years after its release, has been banned in Australia.
What for?
I love this.
Yeah, so it was
All of its content.
Yeah, it was submitted for classification because it's getting a console release, which is also leaked by this announcement because that wasn't official either. And turns out that when you put what you can do in RimWorld into a list, it breaks a lot of our rules.
Yep,
I think it breaks every single one of them.
Yeah, I believe that.
Organ harvesting, lots of drugs, but also it's a very basic art management game that just has a lot of features. So, but the sad thing is that unlike like Disco Elysium last year and stuff, this also removed it from sale on Steam.
Oh, okay.
And I did this on News for Z Games this week, and I said, but you can still buy it DRM free on the developer's website and GOG. And that's what everyone had been reporting one day beforehand, and then I went and checked GOG, and it ain't available there either anymore. Was still on the developer's website though. So, first time I've seen it sort of go to those sites. They just don't really care. So maybe they had a publisher involved that's now like putting their foot down or something. Because I think that's what like like Devolver when they had Hotline Miami 2, they were like, yeah, if it's RC, we're not going to let it anywhere because we're under other scrutiny because we're a medium-sized developer, publisher, and that will cause us trouble, which is fair enough. But I mean, RimWorld, come on, just put it back out there. I need to auger some children's lungs.
Did it ever hit the Switch?
Harvest. No, that was probably what this was
That's
part
probably
of.
for, yeah.
Yeah, so not happening in Australia. It made me immediately go, I don't own RimWorld. Do I? Oh, no, I don't. Oh, shit, how do I get it? I'm going to need a VPN now.
I do. I've got it.
Of course you. But also, if I had it, it's not my kind of game.
Would you play it? Yeah.
No. I dabble it. I take it and go like, this is cool. I can see other possibilities. I've never played it.
Dwarf Fortress in space.
Awesome. Exactly. And I've never played Dwarf Fortress other than having a very brief look and saying, okay, I don't have time for this. Speaking of things I don't have time for, Call of Duty. Call of Duty, the game that has been yearly now for something like 14 years or something, won't be next year. This year it will be, and next year they're going to have a break to sort of rejig stuff and see what's going on. Probably, especially with the response to the last game, probably a good idea.
Probably for the best, yeah.
Yeah, and then the whole acquisition's happening with Activision at the moment. Let's retool and reassess and what we're trying to do and give everyone a bit of a break. Because, like, I know it's 3 studios. Well, it's every Activision studio, but 3 lead studios rotating.
They cycle, yeah.
But 3 years is still kind of short for a AAA game. It's like, it must be exhausting. Anyway, so that's happening. Okay, the Ukraine I put in here. Now, we're not going to really talk about the war, although I'm pretty sure we've got pretty similar sentiments on it, but it's more the gaming response to it. The worst I saw, which was right at the beginning, which was someone on a Microsoft forum just saying, how will this affect Stalker 2's release? Negatively, I assume. So the really important things happening there. There's been a few developers that are in Ukraine that are sort of like, obviously they're not working on fucking games at the moment.
No.
Interesting ones I thought was Wargaming, who is, we've had some meetings with Wargaming. They're big fans of the military in Russia and everything. They're based in Belarus. They have a few studios in Russia and one studio, I think, in Ukraine. But they came straight out and said, no, this is fucked. So considering they would have a lot of fans in Russia and everything, I thought they'd probably just sit it out because it's going to affect them very directly financially. And it has now because of like sanctions against Belarus and Russia. But there were full support behind their Ukraine team. doing what they could. They donated $1 million, I think, to the Red Cross. And one of their lead developers came out pro-Russian, and they fired them immediately. So that was nice. The more cynical people, I will put as pretty much almost every, especially game platform holder. So Sony, Microsoft, then all your big publishers that have like their own eShops and stuff like that. They've all stopped doing business in Russia. And they've said, yes, we're against this and we're not doing business anymore. Almost all those people did that after the payment systems got shut down. So I felt it was maybe just trying to paint the situation that they can't do business in Russia as just a more positive PR stunt. I really liked Nintendo the most that just said, yeah, we can't take payments, so it's shut down. They didn't make a comment about it. Weirdly, they did, however, delay Advance War. Which is like weird.
Yeah, well, because when I heard that, I was thinking like, is there kind of some ties to Russia in there? But no, is it just that it's war?
The OG Advance Wars got delayed because of 9/11.
Yep, that happened too.
I think they're just like, hey, let's not put out a game about war.
Yeah, while it's in everyone's mind, but also it is sort of like there is a lot of wars that go on a lot of the time, and
there's a lot of games about wars.
Yeah. But also, hey, that not releasing something that you could release to everywhere and not just taking the currently worthless currency is more of a statement than, oh yeah, we're not gonna. Actually, weird one. EA go along with them, did that, but I think it was actually something to do with the organizers of the sports as well. But they removed the Russian teams from the current sport games, so FIFA and NHL. They've taken out the Russian teams from it. So, yeah, interesting times. And then, sort of in a more like positive, helping Ukraine sort of reference, there's a new itch bundle out with 992 products on it, which I think about 600 of them are games, and there's some real bangers in there. So,
there's. I'm just trying to quickly.
Last massive itch bundle.
I gave a list of games for someone to check out. That list. I'm just trying to quickly dig it up.
Your thing. I had a very brief. Like at first, I was like, I'll put together a list of like really good games on it, but the list was like 50 games long, and I'm like, well, that doesn't help. The very brief one I did was Wonder Song, Super Hut, a short hike, Bubba Is You, Celeste, stuff like that.
Glittermitten Grove is in there.
Oh, I didn't see that. It was in there. That's cool.
Super Win the Game is another good one.
Yeah, as I say, there's a lot of good, and then just a lot of little weird stuff, which is kind of what I'm more in there for, because I kind of own all the other games.
Great.
But you just scroll through and find weird little things. Even a game that came out on Switch last week, which was an American Werewolf in LA, which didn't look amazing, but I'm a big fan of American Werewolf in London, so like now I can try it. I technically own it. Cool. It's like a side-scrolling beat 'em up, but you're a werewolf in LA. It's also weird to have an American werewolf in LA, because you just werewolves in LA would be American. But yeah, bet it's still better than American Werewolf in Paris. Remember that, James?
I do.
Have you ever seen that, Sam?
I have not.
Oh, it's
just
real
straight over my head.
Bad.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering what that last word was, it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah. There's another one in there, another in that list, which I haven't played yet, but looked interesting, called Lucifer Within Us. Which which just sort of looks like it's kind of like I'm thinking like a puzzle game, like you're trying to solve a mystery and you're like working through, like scrubbing through time. I think like following different events to figure something out. I think it's something like that. I haven't played it, but it was one of the ones that looked pretty interesting in the list.
Yeah. But there's a lot. As I say, there's about, I think it's like 580 of them are games. I'm actually surprised more music doesn't get in there, because there's like 20 soundtracks. I'm like, anyway, Babylon's Fall.
I just read it at the same time you did.
The Platinum game released. Some of the worst reviews I've ever seen. It's like, Platinum, what? But I've written the number 650 there, because that was the number of concurrent players on the first day on Steam.
Oof. That's
for
It's rough.
a notable developer's release that they've been hyping for a while. Holy shit. The same day, Elden Ring had close to 1 million concurrent players. And that's on one platform. Yeah, so poor Babylon's Fall. I don't think that's going to be going anywhere. And they just made statements how they were like wanting to like pivot to more live service stuff. It's like, don't. It's you've already missed
Stick to what you're good at.
Yeah, stick to what you're good at. More of that. Okay, there was a state of play this morning, our time. It was a short 20-minute presentation by PlayStation, and it had a couple of things in it noteworthy. First up, it started with a game that had a robot called Ivy who was there to give us our dinosaur forecast for the day.
80% chance of dinosaurs, Paul.
Yeah, and then dinosaurs started raining from the sky. And I was very happy to start that with my day. I was out walking with my son at the time, and I just had my phone just sitting on the top of the pram. I'm like, I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down with this. When it started and there were dinosaurs, people were like, Dino Crisis? It is made by Capcom.
Yeah.
But no, it's a squad-based like multiplayer.
It's a horde.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I guess like kind of like I almost want to say World War Z or Left 4 Dead, but not quite.
not quite, because also here's the weird thing, and we're still learning more about it. It's just got announced this morning. But the main mode is 2 teams versus each other, but you're not fighting each other. You're just both competing for the same, like who can get
The most.
win the scenario first, so
Okay.
the most kills or other things that could be. Like, that's weird. We'll see. We'll see more. Yeah, it's like everyone's in like weird mech suits, and it's a bit looter and maybe a bit live service, but we don't know that stuff yet. But it looked okay, and it was a fun look. Raining dinosaurs was just a great way to start the day. I was very happy with it.
Yeah.
The thing finished off with 2 new Square Enix games, of which their names elude me right
Valkyrie
now. Elysium, which
Yep.
is a new game in the
Valkyrie Chronicles?
Valkyrie Profile
Valkyrie
series.
Profile, that's it. Yeah.
And the Diofield Chronicle. So that's a tactical RPG, which looked cool.
Yeah, like
yeah.
at first I thought it was Final Fantasy Tactics, but it's not. And because it's not. I think it's real
It
time.
wasn't grid based, was it?
No.
Yeah,
I think
it
it's
had
actually
like a pause.
Yeah, I think So it's very different mechanically, but thematically it looked a lot like Final Fantasy Tactics.
Fit in there. Look good. And Valkyrie Elysium was action RPG. The other ones weren't quite that either, so it's a new take in the series. But I've played none of them, so I don't really know what to expect. But the other big thing that struck me was Returnal got some DLC announced. And it wasn't what I would expect from the game. It's free DLC. It's coming out this month. I had to remember what month we were for a second. It's co-op. So full campaign co-op. You can play Returnal with a buddy now, which sounds
like a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's a good game. They also added a new mode, which is sort of an endless score attack run called it's Tower of Sisyphus. Can't talk. Which, I mean, you know what its theme is from the name, so you'd play it till you die. Good on. But weirdly, you can't do that co-op. Well, not that weirdly, because they want to make it a more serious, like arcade mode. But we just added full campaign co-op, but not for the new mode. But yeah, free update. It looks bloody great. They've also adding some more story content and a few other little things around it. Very excited. I'm going to jump back in there and hopefully find someone else that owns it, and we can do some shooting together. Good game. Okay. What else did I have there? Oh, God. No, let's stop doing news for a bit. Let's talk about a game, and we'll get back to some other stuff later. Let's run through some other things. Okay, what needs to be discussed? Aperture Desk Job came out. It was a free game released by Valve to go along with the release of the Steam Deck. And it's a showpiece for the Steam Deck. But weirdly, you don't need a Steam Deck to play it. It's basically, it's in the Portal universe. You've gone for a desk job, and the desk is your controller. So it has all the buttons that the Steam Deck has, including if you don't have all those buttons. So you'll just have things you can't interact with your regular controller.
So I had an interesting experience with it because it was, yes, it's designed to showcase the Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
I tried playing it through Steam Link, the the actual old hardware they don't make anymore, and use the Steam controller.
Mm-hmm.
And it did not. I had lots of problems trying to. I eventually I couldn't actually play it through Steam Link because there were some moments where you had to enter text, and I just couldn't do it, and it crashed my Steam Link.
Because you neither had a keyboard nor a touchpad.
Yeah, but what I thought was interesting is it kind of it made me feel like playing a game designed to showcase a new piece of hardware on a piece of abandoned hardware by the same provider. It kind of it didn't fill me with confidence of the ongoing support of the Steam Deck. Even though I'm sure, I'm actually not really. I think that thing's going to do really well, but it was just sort of playing something which is designed to showcase hardware on a system which has been effectively abandoned. I don't know. It was just it's kind of an interesting kind of,
I don't think there's... I mean, Steam Link, I guess the hardware is kind of technically abandoned, but the technology is...
Oh, no, the technology, but more it's actually playing on old hardware.
They abandoned the hardware because they didn't need the hardware aspect of it anymore. Because it really... Steam Controller and Steam Link, despite the fact that you can buy neither of them, are why the deck exists.
Yeah.
Because they just kept working on that shit. It's not a great experience to play on anything that's not the deck, and I kind of think it wouldn't be great on the deck either, because it is just mostly sitting there listening to other things talk, and the buttons don't really do much when they give you control. It reminded me a little bit of the VR game Static, where they... It
did for me, and I think that really worked against it, because Static is amazing.
Yeah, Static is an unbelievably well designed game.
So when I was playing it, I couldn't help but think Static did a similar thing, but so much better.
Yeah, it lets you explore the controller you had in an interesting way. While this was kind of hey, we've got a bunch of scripted stuff, so hit the buttons and the scripted stuff will happen. I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, I know it wasn't a game and it wasn't supposed to be long. But it actually reminded me a bit of what I didn't like about Alex, which is that Valve really seems stuck on locking you listening to someone talk. It's I was actually there was a thing about the beginning of Alex the other day that they had to severely shorten it because people kept getting fidgety. I'm like, not surprised. It's still not that brisk either. Yeah, you guys might need to work out how to get the storytelling happening during gameplay to a degree. Which is weird, because Portal was.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, Portal was we can do both at the same time. And they seem to have lost it a little bit. I mean, it's still fun. It's a free tech thing. I don't recommend it or anything.
I was a bit disappointed of how much it just felt like a tech showcase more than a game. I mean, it's free, so... And the production quality is there. The voice acting's good. The animation's all really good. But it does feel very kind of weirdly artificial when it's say your name because we want to demonstrate that there's a microphone in this thing. Or
more like a bullet list of all the things the Steam Deck has.
Oh, use gyro control now. Okay. Well,
which you can't do if you don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a funny thing. I kind of go hey, guys, start again and play Static.
Go play Static, yeah.
You can really show your controller off with that kind of game design. Anyway, so I think that's done, and we spoke about it faster than the game is, which is probably 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's not very long. Yeah, and the writing's fine. It's okay.
Have either of you crazy kids played Vampire Survivors?
No.
I've seen some of it. I haven't played it yet.
So, James, because I'm assuming you don't know it at all.
Sorry, I'm just making sure my kid doesn't wake up. He's okay.
Okay, I'm going to start screaming very loudly so it blows out your eardrums.
The baby monitor is there keeping an eye on him.
So, Vampire Survivors is a roguelike where you play like a vampire hunter.
Okay.
And it's a bit like, I suppose you think, not bullet hell. Think almost Geometry Wars-ish.
No, I'm gonna go back to Crimson Lands.
Actually, no, Crimson Lands is a better pull. Thank you.
Yeah.
Crimson Lands, more at it. But the art's jankier. It's like old Castlevania. And it controls with the left stick.
Okay.
That's it.
No, it's
It's
one
a
thing.
single stick.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great masturbation game. Well, every once in a while you do have to select. So basically, you move around. Zombies, bats come to kill you. You start with the class you've picked, and I think you might only start with one. And you'll have an attack. Like I think it's the first one might be whip, and they'll whip in the direction that you're facing on a timer. So a little cooldown. So every 3 seconds you go whip, whip, whip. And then you kill enough enemies and they drop experience orbs and you pick them up and you level up and you get to either upgrade the perk or pick another perk, which might give you another weapon. Might get crucifix that circles around you and hits any enemy that touches it. And so on and so on. So you develop builds and you have to pick the gap between enemies in this I think it's endless, the world. I think it just keeps randomly generating, but it will remember everything that's dropped. So you actually have to go and pick up the orbs after you kill things. So you can't just run the whole time. You have to go back through the mass, but building up more and more power and doing it. And it is incredibly satisfying, and it's $3. And yeah, you get
What's it
better
on?
progression on PC. It's a Steam game. I think a lot of people are looking forward to play it on their Steam Decks if they get it, because it will run real well, because it's just very crude graphics on the whole. But yeah, it's real simple. It's real effective. You unlock more items that will spawn, unlock more character classes. I think the end goal is to reach half an hour, which I don't. I also haven't played that many times. It's just a real simple thing. And I think they totally rebuilt the game because they wanted to then be able to port it to other things. And I don't think it was that hard, because the game itself isn't that complex. It's just like the concept to make sure it works off. So Vampire Survivors, it's been a little bit of a cult hit. It's probably going to keep cropping up throughout the year as they keep expanding it, because it's technically early access still, but it's such a simple, clean concept that it feels as complete as it needs to be now. They're just going to add more stuff, which is nice. Which brings me, of course, to Grapple Dog.
So it's got grappling hooks, right?
Yeah, so this is
dogs.
There's a platformer, so Paul's in. You're a dog, so Paul's in twice. And you've got a grappling hook, so I'm in all the way. This was I was playing a bunch of games for review, I did not have time to play another game or anything. But
Grapple Dog.
Goodbye the Grapple Dog. It's great. I think the most telling thing was when it hasn't been that heavily played, so it didn't have that many reviews on Steam, but it only had 2 negative reviews. And one of them said, this game is bullshit because it's so easy. The other one said, this game is ridiculously hard and should be considered a precision platformer, and it sucks because of that.
So which one is it?
I think it's definitely in the middle, especially in the beginning. Especially in the beginning. It's quite simple, and then it ups the ante. But it's a Kirby. It's a Kirby in that going through the levels on the whole is actually pretty easy. Not quite to the extent of sometimes when Kirby games are like, I actually didn't have to do anything to get through here. But mechanically, it's pretty simple. As the game continues, it does get more complex, but nothing too great. But like Kirby, it just has a bunch of collectibles on each level, which will have harder challenges around them, and just trying to find those secrets. So either they're cleverly hidden or they require a more precise platforming challenge to get to. The writing is really good. My favorite bit, which I think I shared a few weeks ago on the Discord, was a character explaining what's going on, and your main character says, "Oh no, this sounds like lore." And then you get chastised for not being able to pay attention for more than 2 sentences. I'm like, this is about me. They know. They know. So basically you start off going to an island. You're looking for these ancient relics, and you meet a robot, and turns out the robot's bad, and then the adventure begins. And it's got sort of an overworld map where you're in a boat and you're going from island to island. And one of the things I found very interesting is that if you do like all the challenges on each levels, you get basically everything's locked behind stars. But by the time I opened the second world, I had enough stars to go straight to the second world's boss. And so I did. And so I've sort of been working backwards. I go like every time I get to a new world, I do the boss first and then start the world afterwards and then go back to the world I missed to get the stars back up. Because I'm just like, I just want to see what the game has. This is cool. It's controls really well. It's very cute. Got a great concept. The levels aren't too long. The checkpointing is on the whole pretty good. The worst thing I have is you do get a bit of that when you're looking for the collectibles. You go like, which door do I go through? And you go through the wrong one, and it's a one-way door, and it's like, fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if I actually want to get that thing, I've actually got to restart the entire level now, because that's maybe like once every 5 levels or so I get one of those. But also, once you finish a level, it unlocks a speedrunning mode, which just says like, no, ignore everything else, just get to the level as fast as you can. And once you start looking at the game like that, because when I was playing it normally, it's pretty methodical moving through, you start realizing that the movement system is actually really fast and fluid, and the levels are built to be able to basically swinging, jumping off an enemy, swinging again. It's like very fluid, very fun. Great game. It's on Switch. I know it's on PC as well. I'm not sure about other platforms. I'm sure if it does, it'll come to, because it's just a nice little platformer. It is just on Switch and PC at the moment. But yeah, really, and a fucking great soundtrack. Like really nice. Like it reminded me of Jet Set Radio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just really eclectic, really fun. Well, I also wasn't expecting that. So yeah, nice game. Okay, now the big game of the last few months that, of course, we've been holding off talking about is, of course, the re-release of Elasto Mania on Switch. The great motorcycle physics-based game that we all played in high school. Yeah. Which I think it was like...
I didn't actually.
Because you didn't? No. You never played?
No. Even with the age gap, it was still me in high school.
Yeah. I forgot time went the wrong way. I said like, oh no, you're younger than us. It wouldn't be there. I'm like, wait, no. That means it definitely could be there.
That's how time works.
That's how time works. Yeah. I'm sure I played it in high school, time wise. I know I definitely played it when it was first a thing, because it was first because it was another game beforehand, and Elasto Mania was
they
sequel.
did like a basic thing similar, and then they evolved it into Elasto Mania.
Yeah, it would have been right at the end of our high school, actually, James. Apparently, the original one was 2000, so maybe it was
just missed it.
Yeah, just the dreams. But anyway, it was a weird motorcycle game that led on to things like Trials and stuff like that. And what they did was take this janky, I'll call it janky, but it's janky in a very precise way. Web game, and they ported it to Switch, and it's on Steam as well. And I think it came to all platforms.
It did, yeah.
And it is just that. Like, they've actually done development over time, so there's a few more, but it is practically unchanged. It's like, I'm going to go pick up
the same,
shitty GIF of an apple.
I think the biggest change is that they've added some user level packs. Into the game.
Yeah, like they're built in now. And like I can't remember. Like, you can turn off the background and stuff, which probably was always there. I never tried before.
Yeah.
And Elasto Mania is just one of those things where it's you learn to feather the throttle to move forward at the correct speeds and everything. It's not quite like Trials, where it's like more leaning back and forth. It's more about control of the accelerator on the whole. But then it's just these weird early physics where the wheels are separate from the bike and they can get stretched between things, and you get sort of a bounce, and the only really pinpoint parts of the collision model actually matter, so you can actually squeeze through incredibly small things if you know how. And yeah, it's like this. the wheels can be on the top of a surface, and you can be riding underneath. You can be upside down riding underneath it. It doesn't care that there's a platform in between the two aspects of the bike. Shit like that. Like, I loved it.
It's good
I loved
fun.
every moment.
Yeah.
And it was amazing how much I remembered. And then as I got in, it only took like 7 levels or so until I was like, this is bullshit. Fuck this game. Look up the hot strats for Elasto Mania online, of which there are a lot. Had to get my groove back, but yeah, it was cool to see that come out, and certainly a bit of nostalgia for a lot of people. Okay, Sam, you've also been playing Strange Horticulture.
I have, yes. It's quite interesting. So this came along after I was playing the potion game that we talked about.
Yeah, Potion
last time.
Craft?
I can't remember the name of it. Potion Craft, yeah.
Yep.
Because it has a similar aesthetic to it, but it's a very different game.
Mm-hmm.
So Strange Horticulture it's kind of Papers, Pleasey in a way. Effectively, you start the game and you've been left a horticulture shop in a village. It's like in a magical fantasy world, and you just got to run this horticulture shop. So you sell plants that have various effects. And the way it works is essentially you get a customer. The customer says, "Hey, I've got this problem. Can you give me a plant that solves it?" And the problem might be, they can't sleep, or they've got a rash on their skin. So you get your book out, book of plants. You gotta look through the book and try and figure out which plant it is. Find your plant on the shelf and give it to them. The gameplay comes in where like none of the plants are labeled, but you can label them yourself. So once you figure out what a plant is, you can put a label on it with a name, and now you know what that plant is. And then every time you succeed in something, you get another page in your encyclopedia of plants, or you get a clue to go out into the world to find another type of plant. And it just progresses day by day like that, and this kind of story unfolds with these key customers and NPCs who keep returning to you. There's various strange, like, supernatural things going on. And it's chill, it's casual. You got a little, like, witch's cat that sits around that you can pet at any time. Like, it's got a lovely, like, aesthetic mood to it. Especially, like, every now and then it'll be raining, so you just have this nice background rain noise while you play. It's a very chill game. It's not difficult. It's fun. And then there's like, I can see there's like parts of it where you get choices. So a big example is where a customer comes along and they've been having like these weird like spirit visions. So they're seeing someone at night in the house. And they go, "Hey, can you help with that?" And if you look through your plants and the descriptions of what they do, you actually get a choice. You can give them one that blocks it off and stops the spirits, or you can give them one that enhances the ability and makes it worse. And that
give them
changes,
that one, right?
The next time they come along. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then they come along, they're like, "Oh, it's gotten worse," but now like they're talking to me, and it kind of like evolves that storyline.
And they told me about this new plant. Here, yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
I heard there was.
But yeah, it's nice and chill.
I heard someone comes in because the next door, like the dog keeps barking. So like, I need something to poison the dog, and they're like,
Yes,
I don't
you can give them one that like doesn't do that.
It's like, oh.
But for the most part, it's fairly straightforward, and like, it's just all the little things that are just nice and chill. And, like you can like your plants are just on a shelf or several shelves, and you can just like move them around and organize them however you want. And then like the clues that come out quite easy and simple. You get this big map. It's just a grid. So you just click on the grid square you want to go to. If you have a clue to go to there, you get something, and if you don't, it kind of just does nothing. It's fun.
I was a little bit
I don't think it's very
disappointed.
expensive.
Yeah, I just looked. How much is it? It's $20, but $21.
Yeah.
But several times they had a demo for it, which I downloaded to play. I was like, oh, now that it's out, is the demo also out? But it looks like they didn't leave the demo up.
Oh.
Which is a bit of a pity.
That's a shame.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, it is. I think I downloaded the demo twice and never played it. So sucks to be me, I guess. Cool. Okay. OlliOlli World. So OlliOlli was, and its sequel are 2D skateboarding games. So you traveling left to right, doing tricks, it was all sort of left stick based. So to do a jump, you push down and then flick the stick up and you do a jump, and holding different ways would let you do different tricks and such. And you really just used one button, and that was more timing based to like learn your tricks properly. And that was it. Good little arcade game. They had a sequel. It was just a very slightly different art style. It's just a bit smoother, but sort of more of the same. They were good solid games. I played them on my Vita primarily. And then they've been working for a while, and they've come out with OlliOlli World. And it is an interesting beast. It's not, I don't think it's quite full price, but it's a relatively pricey game compared to the original ones, which are sort of smaller digital releases. But they've poured all the money into presentation. So it's really cool. There's a character creator. You can make this weird, like hipster, adventure time-ish, just like weirdo, whatever you want in there. Like it's, it's very, it's like gender doesn't matter. Just chuck everything together. You can be a weird unicorn monster if you want with a boombox. Go wild. And they're trying to find like the new skate wizard, and you're in running for that. You know it. Here's the big thing. So after I've been playing for a few hours, I was like, I want to go back and see how this feels compared to the first games. I went and played them on my Vita, and then, because I'm an absolute bitch, the pack of 1 and 2 was $3 on the Switch. So I actually rebought 1 and 2 on the Switch so I can compare with the same controls. The game hasn't changed that much. Probably the new one's just a little bit more forgiving with the timing. But generally, sort of the way everything plays and moves-wise, it's the same. The difference is, probably over an hour in, I was still doing like tutorial how the game works stuff in OlliOlli World. I did the tutorial in both the first 2 games again, completed in about 2 minutes.
Is that because it's new mechanics, or is just they're really slow about it?
The second one.
Oh, okay.
So what they do is introduce a mechanic. Here's the weirdest thing. So the world is rendered in 3D. It's 2D gameplay, but it's in 3D. And that lets them do things like have paths that split off, and you can move in and out from the camera. Like, it's really stylish and really cool. But they've also, like, we've got all these characters, and we want them to talk, and we want them... So every time you open a level, there is a button to just say, "No, fuck off, I don't want to talk to you." And it's actually quite rude sometimes. Or you talk to them, and smile and nod as they talk about how awesome it is you're going to the ice cream shop. And I'm not exaggerating with that being the sort of plot line that we have here. I'm like, oh, God. Oh, we're going to go to the T-shirt store and get ourselves some cool T-shirts. Okay, great. I don't know who this is supposed to be amusing, but not me. But anyway, the very small change with the like levels. So they go like, okay, do 4 grinds. And in OlliOlli World, you do 4 grinds, and then the levels, you got to get to the end of the level. So, you've done 10 grinds by the end because there's that much space and everything. In the originals, you do 4 grinds, and the game would go, great, done, stop, moving on to the next thing. So it's like they lost that ability when they designed the new levels. It's like, no, you can only end the level when you get to the end of the level, and we've got to give you enough space in case you're not good at doing grinds. So, and this is a minor thing, but it's like, it just slows everything down. So basically my takeaway, there are some new mechanics in the game, and it certainly is like, I was kind of sold a lie when I first watched it. It was probably my fault for not paying attention properly. They called it OlliOlli World, and they talked about a world you could explore. I'm like, what's that going to be for a 2D skateboarding game? I don't understand. Like, that sounds cool. No, it's just got like a Mario World style overview. And then you go and do levels, and the levels you get the main goal is just to finish the level, finish it without stacking it all, and then they've got a bunch of side goals which will unlock other like clothing and things for you, and there'll be things like pop all the balloons, or don't pop all the balloons, or give this guy a handshake. And it's kind of interesting because because you can't see ahead of you particularly well in these games, it is about learning the levels. And even the design of doing the challenges like lines up with that, because the challenges might say, like, I say pop all the balloons. Well, the track might split, and the balloons are on one of the tracks, but one of your other challenges is on the other track. So you actually can't do all of them in one run.
Yeah.
You'd have to go and do 2 runs to do it all. Or you'd have to like do it all before you hit another checkpoint, go back to the last checkpoint, because it does seem to keep your progress even if you stack it. But that would take away your ability to do the non-using a checkpoint run. So it's impossible. Just like, okay, you have to do it multiple times. Which really, because once the game gets going, you got to be pretty fast on the stick a lot. Like there can be a lot of stuff going pretty quickly, and you do have to like memorize. Like, okay, I've got to do a short jump here because the next one's going to be this, and I've got to be able to duck. Okay. So it's good, it's satisfying, but it does pretty much play the same as the first ones. So my recommendation is actually that OlliOlli is really fun to play. If you're someone that really likes cool aesthetics and maybe likes like a bit of a kooky hipster story, then the new one is like hard to beat. Really good soundtrack too. If you actually just want the arcade gameplay, as I say, the first 2 go on sale pretty regularly. I got both of them together for $3 on Switch. Like, that's actually my personal preference to play those because it's just snappier. So I don't have to spend so much time hearing about the skate wizards, which I don't really think adds much to the game. It just looks cool. If you're into that sort of thing, great. But yeah, OlliOlli World, I think it's out on pretty much everything. Let me double check that. Not OlliOlli World. I don't even know what that would be. Maybe like Ooblets. Hey, James, how do you feel about Ooblets these days?
I forgot it existed.
You know they took out like the Pokemon stuff, right?
They took it out. What's left?
I think you dance now instead of having battles. I don't know. I never played the final version.
The battles are the dancing.
No, but there used to be Pokemon battles, and now it's a different thing. So it's still a battle, but it's a different kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't know. I got to go play it. Yeah. OlliOlli World's on everything, so go nuts if you want. Cool. What else is on our list before we get to Elden Ring? Things I can skip. I got Webbed on Switch just to support the local game. It's still good. Haven't played enough of that really. Those things can wait. Look, last episode I forgot to talk about Nobody Saves the World, and it's really good, but maybe we just save that for another time.
Yeah.
There was another Steam Fest. Had a whole lot of demos. I know that both Sam and I played Card Shark, which was featured there, which is upcoming Devolver joint with the team that made Reigns, I think. It's about what's the actual time period, Sam? You might be better at time periods than me.
That's a great question.
Like Revolutionary France? Like, is it before we've chopped off heads or after?
That.
Yeah.
Well, definitely before. I mean, we were chopping off heads till the 1980s. So
we were?
France was.
Oh, I'm not.
The last guillotine execution in France was the same year Star Wars came out.
Holy fuck. That's amazing.
Yeah. Can you imagine, like, some dude got guillotined and maybe got to see Star Wars first?
He never even know about the whole Luke Darth Vader situation.
It's 18th century France, so whenever that was, as far as actual.
Let's all show our knowledgeable history about France.
1700s.
Nice. So yeah, it is a game where you, without going the story side of it, you are traveling around with confidence tricksters that use card tricks, and you are part of their crew. And you get taught to do card tricks, and they kind of try to replicate it in a pretty mechanical way.
They are fairly accurate.
Yeah, it was one of those things where one of the first things in the game once you join up, they go like, okay, we're going to teach you a basic thing. We're doing 3-card Monty. Tell me what the trick is. And here's a Paul naivety, even though I know what 3-card Monty was and everything, I never realized there was an actual trick in it. I was like, huh. And as soon as they said that, I watched and I worked it out immediately. It is one of the more basic ones. I'm like, oh, cool. I could actually do that now if I were so inclined. Huh. and so on, like marking cards. Like it's a mixture of like actual like shuffling tricks that you might do and straight up social engineering things. Like in some situations, someone else is playing and you're the waiter, and your job is to like give signals of like what other people's cards are, or secretly mark cards and things like that. How to cut packs in interesting ways and everything. Like it's weirdly educational and then weirdly stressful to play.
Very stressful to play.
Because some of these fuckers will kill you. And I'm like...
Yeah, if they catch you cheating or get too suspicious, they'll just pull out a gun and be like, "You're cheating," and shoot you in the face.
And it's not just like doing it wrong that might clue them in that you're cheating. It's taking too long to do it. So you've got to get used to the mechanics and used to like, okay, so I've got to flick up and then I've got to go a couple to the right and then down. Okay, I've moved the card there. Great. Okay. And the whole time... Every second you delay trying to do that combination, it's just ticking up them getting more and more suspicious. Why is this guy shuffling so weird? Because I don't really know what I'm fucking doing.
I think the best part is that stress then makes you like, you might make a mistake. Like some of the mechanics is like, oh, you need to, you press down 5 times to ensure a card is 5 cards from the top. And then because you're stressed, you only hit it 4 times and you miscount, and then you just carry on doing the rest of the trick, and then it's fucked up.
It's so effective. Yeah. It's really cool. It's weirdly educational. I'm going to be interested in to see if the plot actually follows any actual politics from around the time. At the moment, I'm not particularly inclined to think so, but maybe. Certainly setting seems appropriate. But yeah, I'm quite... I was already hyped for it, but now I'm nervously hyped because I wonder if my nerves can take the game. But yeah, very cool. And that comes up later this year. I don't know the actual timing of it. I played a bunch of other demos, but because it's not really time pertinent, maybe we move on. Because we've got a few big things. We've got the big thing that we're leaving at the end, the Elden Ring. But we also had a Nintendo Direct that we totally did not get to talk about yet. And I would say it was one of the best Directs that have happened. So they announced a bunch of things in it. I'm going to just pull out a few random ones. I don't know. Do you guys remember it now? It was like a month ago now.
I remember some of the bigger ones.
Okay, so let's get the small things. One of the first surprises, No Man's Sky coming to Switch. Don't know how that's working, but it's happening.
That boggles the mind.
Yeah. New game announcement. Mario Strikers is coming back. Battle League. So, that's some soccer if you're so inclined into that sort of thing. I sometimes fall into Nintendo sports games, but we'll see. This was a weird one. They announced the Force Unleashed coming to Switch. It looks awful. Do you remember why? Do you guys know why it looks awful?
No, what, did they stretch it or something?
No, they're porting the Wii version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it was Jedi Knight was one of the ones they just like squished the aspect ratio or something, or at least the HUD, but they're just like, we'll squish it or stretch it.
Yeah, I think that's because the game itself might go to 16:9, but the HUD is definitely not built for it, so they don't do any work. I mean, that's unfortunately quite common. Chrono Cross is being ported, and it's got some weird choices, like they've decided to AI upscale the backgrounds, and it's weird. I'm a Chrono Trigger boy. I've never even played Chrono Cross. It's just...
I think it's only loosely connected.
Yeah, it's got Chrono in the name. It's great. They had a new trailer for Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which comes out in 2 weeks. Yeah, and they just revealed it's taken the internet by storm. Mouthful mode, which is Kirby doesn't just inhale things and absorb their powers. Sometimes he just likes to wrap himself around something else.
Sometimes the things are too big to swallow. So
like docking several objects. So wrap around a car and you can drive a car. And it looks disturbing and awesome, and I can't wait. It's going to be cool.
There is a demo now.
Yes, which I decided just not to play because I've already ordered the game. So I'm like, why? Nintendo's... I was going to say Nintendo's bad at keeping progress, but they actually haven't been. But they normally just do that for RPGs.
They've been okay about it.
Yeah, maybe because I do want to play it.
See.
I got other things to play. There's a remake coming of Live Alive or Live Alive or Live Alive or however you want to mix it up. I believe it's actually Live Alive, which is one of those games that when they talk about it, suddenly all these people come out of the woodwork and talk about it as if it's a game that we all know about. And it's all... I remember last time it was Moon. And like, yeah, Moon's not super obscure, but it's obscure enough that most people didn't know what it was. I think Live Alive is more obscure than Moon was.
Oh, it's very obscure, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a RPG that covers multiple time periods and characters and styles, and they've done it in the sort of the 2D pixel art, 2D HD style. Is it actually, because it's a square joint, isn't it?
It's a square game, yeah.
Yeah, so it's that.
It's one of those that like it never got a Western release, and
Yeah.
now we are.
Yeah, but they're doing it in that the pixel art, but done in 3D style that they've been doing so much, and I think it looks really quite cool. Yeah, but just a weird game that I know nothing of, and I will not pretend that I know. But it's apparently one of the most influential games of all time that we all talk about all the time, apparently. Cool. Okay, one of the big Nintendo games that they announced, Wii Sports is back, but now it's called Nintendo Switch Sports. And they had a open beta a couple of weekends ago. How did that go for you boys?
I didn't touch
touch it.
I wasn't even aware that there was one.
Got to happen.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. Okay, so you could just sign up and you get it. It's fine. I downloaded it. Then you look at the details, and it's like over the weekend we've got 5 45-minute long periods that you can log in.
It's like the
and
little
do
like segments.
It's like, oh, I've got to work out the windows. I'm pretty busy this weekend anyway. And then here's the craziest thing I've ever seen. If you played it, you were technically under an NDA.
That's a bit weird.
Yeah, they're like, if you play this trial, if you play this network test, you are not allowed to talk about this. And so there wasn't a lot of articles written about it because
It's just
no journalist could
just
adhere
sports.
to that. It's just like, what the fuck? This is so I don't know. Anyway, it's Wii Sports. They've got a bunch of sports, and there's going to be more coming. Like it's kind of like there's a soccer game which is just like you just kick the ball, but in a few months they're going to add actually moving around and playing soccer. Like we're in a weird world now.
It's going to sell a lot of Switches at Christmas.
Oh shit! Like this.
Well, it's interesting because I think a week before the Direct, I was visiting Mum, and Mum's just bought a Wii U
Oh yeah.
secondhand because her Wii broke. And I was like, why didn't you just get a Switch and like get some of the more updated games? And like, oh, because there isn't like you can't play Wii Sports on the Switch, and that's one of the games she wants to play. I was like, well, now or
you
soon
can.
you'll be able to.
What a world we live in.
Is Wii Fit Trainer back?
Well, Wii Fit Trainers,
Dunno, but-
not in
but
Wii
Mii's are
Sports
back.
normally. But they have new style Mii's, which are creepy.
Yeah, new
But
Mii's.
you can use your old Mii still. So we'll see how that all
Because
pans
the
out.
new ones are like it's the Mii face but on like a full body,
Yeah.
which is just weird.
Yeah, we need creepy, like, fat boy bodies.
I wonder if they'll re-release Nintendo Land on Switch eventually.
You can't do Nintendo Land on Switch.
Oh, like some kind of, I don't know.
That's the problem. The Wii U is actually a must-own Nintendo console because it does things that no other
Yeah,
console
it's true.
can
That's true.
do.
Yep.
So yeah, if we want to play those Nintendo Land games, there is no other platform we can play that on. Like, I mean, okay, you could hack something together with PCs or something, like, it's technologically possible, but there's no plug and play thing to do that. You need...
You know what I wouldn't put it past them doing? Is you know how they did that, there's that tank game where you can use 2 Switches together?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can do one where like you can play Wii U games that needed a gamepad,
For having
except you need
need
2
two
Switches,
Switches.
one docked and one handheld.
Yeah, because I think if you got Namco Museum to do Pac-Man Verse, like you could do that with a bunch of Switches and things
Yeah.
like that. And yeah, there's like... It's technically possible, but I don't see them pushing it. As soon as you require multiple Switches, it limits it down. But
narrows your options.
weren't there even like Mario Party games in the last... Like,
Yeah, there
new
was that one
Yeah.
where like one person played Bowser.
Yeah. Anywhoozin, they had like new modes added to bloody Metroid Dread because it's like you can do it a one-hit difficulty, get hit at all in the game, and you die. Good fun. Fuck, I don't want.
Not for you, Paul. It's not for you.
No, thank you.
Not for me. I got pretty good at that game. Anyway, so probably the biggest DLC announcement that I can ever recall. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is getting some new levels. In fact, I think the new levels come out pretty soon, like a week, the first batch
First
of them.
pack is, yeah.
They are releasing 48 new levels, well, new tracks for Mario Kart 8, and which will take us through to 2023. They're coming out in lots of 6, I think it is, every few months, and it's one
6
off.
or 8?
I think it's 6, and they're doing 8 drops. Oh, they're doing 8 and doing 6 drops.
It'd be 8 or 6 because the Grand Prix is 4 tracks. So it's 2 Grand Prix per drop, I think.
Wait. I've got a thing over here. Yeah, 8 courses over
Yep.
6. Yep. That
Yep.
makes more sense. Yep. And it's mostly tracks from other games, but if you've seen the way that they do those tracks previously, that doesn't mean a lot. That just means, we used the base layout and then we made a crazy fucking level on top of it. I cannot wait because that game is really hard to beat. When all the talk about Mario Kart 9 was going around, like, what can it be? On the Switch, it can't look any better than this particularly. What kind of gimmick can you add to make it interesting other than just really good racing? I think they kind of went to the same area. I think we don't see a 9 until the next console.
Whatever it is, yeah. And it's really cheap, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's like $30 or $35, which isn't nothing, but is like for basically a game's worth.
Less than $1 a track.
Yeah. Like I was confused at the pricing because it seemed too good. I was like, no. Like surely this is the price of one pack, right? And like, no, it's you get them all, and there's a lot of tracks.
And if you subscribe to Nintendo Switch Online Plus, it's included, so you don't have to purchase it separately. But I did. Because I'm not subscribed to that, and I won't, because I'm not a sucker. No, I am a sucker. I bought OlliOlli World 1 and 2 again just to have it on my Switch when I just played it on my Vita. Just for the comparison for a review. I'm a major sucker. Okay, and the Direct ended with an announcement of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which I will have mixed feelings about like I did with all the games, yet somehow I keep getting sucked into them.
I've still never really tried the series.
In 2, there's a character which is like an owl, and I said that they had Christmas pudding tits. It took me ages to realize that they actually had like a sack hanging over their shoulders, and it wasn't supposed to be breasts. It just looked like 2 wrapped up Christmas puddings to me. That game's weird. They're all weird. Yeah,
it is. It's very strange.
Yes, I'm still kind of surprised that they haven't done the Xenoblade. The one that was on Wii U where you were like in the big mech. What was that one called?
Something with an X at the end?
Chronicles X? Yeah, maybe it was just that. But we don't need to look it up. I never played it anyway. I just want to... Apparently it took ages to get to the mech point, and that's all I wanted to do. But yeah, cool. Okay. I think that's mostly for the Direct. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool one. Okay. Now... I think we've exhausted all the other things. Now it's time to get on to a little bit of Elden Ring, I think. So goodbye if you're sick of hearing about it, because we're going to talk about some Elden Ring. Dark Souls 4 has come out, and they changed some of the words. Bonfires are...
Lost Grace.
Souls are runes. And others. It's Dark Souls 4. But they put Dark Souls 4... inside an open world, because the open world isn't very Dark Soulsy, and I don't know. I talk a lot. I'll start, and you guys can just cut in and say stuff. As far as a Souls-like game goes, this is downright relaxing and lovely, and I am leveling and doing things and solving mysteries, and I've technically fought things, but not that much. I am prioritizing just trying to understand the world at the moment. And this was heightened to me very early. I was talking to just someone else. Someone said that they were 8 hours in and they still hadn't beat the Tree Sentinel. They'd been banging their head against it the whole time. To which my response was, fuck, I'm 12 hours in and I don't even know what the Tree Sentinel is. What? Jesus, how slow am I going? So the Tree Sentinel is when you finish the first fight, which you're supposed to lose in a Souls game, because it's a Souls game. You do the same thing. Yeah. You start, there's a tutorial, which a lot of people apparently walk past.
It's easy to miss.
Then, apparently, I mean,
it is very easy,
I thought it was very directed, but apparently...
Well, no, it's not easy to miss, because the game points you at it.
It's easy to skip.
But if you've played a Souls game, it's the kind of thing you look at and you go, I meant to come back to this.
Yeah, because you're supposed to jump down a hole.
Because it's a hole in the ground.
You're not supposed to jump down holes in Souls games normally. You can do more jumping down things in this game. And then once you go through the doors and you come out into the open world, in front of you, maybe 200 meters, is a giant knight on a giant horse. And being an open world game, I said, fuck that, and I walked to his left. And that character is the Tree Sentinel. And some people that haven't understood that this is an open world game, that maybe you can come back to things, spend hours and hours trying to beat this quite difficult boss. Well, at least difficult for a low level. You can do it. I have watched people do it on soul level, rune level 0, 1, and it's totally doable, but you have to already be pretty good at the game. I didn't, and I fought him once, and that was because the thing that I thought I needed to die to him once, and I was wrong. I still haven't beat him because I haven't tried. I've beaten a bunch of other little bosses, and I got randomly teleported to one of the most dangerous areas in the world. But weirdly, so here's my recommendation for the game. Don't go onto YouTube. YouTube is bad. But what you do want is a small group of friends also playing it. Because it's like, this game is weirdly like Outer Wilds. I almost did it. It's almost like Outer Wilds in that, it's a mystery you're uncovering and you don't want to spoil it for people, except you absolutely can spoil this game for people because it's so fucking big that
everyone's going to do it a different way.
Everyone's going to do stuff, and you're going to find pieces of the same puzzle, and you can talk, and you can solve it together, and it's great for that. So when I got teleported to this cave, and it's like, well, this is a shitty place to be, and I go, oh, okay, I got out. Then talking to someone else, and they're like, oh, did you talk to this ghost? They said they wanted something like this. I'm like, you can get that in that super dangerous place where you're like, oh, this is just a troll to send you there. No, there's an actual step-by-step reason that you'd want to go to that cave early in the game, but just most people won't find it. But they've created the line there if you do. And the game is just full of that stuff because it's Dark Souls. They don't want to be direct about their storytelling and what's going on and what you can do. There are no quest markers. You've just got to sort of remember where things are or write down your own notes. You can put basic markers on the map, which is good at least. But that's so cool. There's little puzzles to get into things, which, you just have to pay attention to the environment around you. As I say, I actually have died very little in the game. I don't know, I'm probably 15, 16 hours or so. And I've probably got deaths around 15 or 16. If something is about to kill me, unless it's a boss fight I'm just doing, I just run away from them.
I think that's the main thing too. I've seen a lot of discourse, as there has been on difficulty and things like that, especially with a Souls game. And a lot of people saying, Elden Ring's much, much easier and it's much, much more forgiving and things like that. And on the whole, I don't think it is when it comes to the actual combat. It is not more forgiving. It's a Souls game, but the game is more forgiving because at any time, other than some very specific scenarios, you can just ignore something and go somewhere else. You can run away from almost every fight that isn't a core boss fight. You have the choice.
Everything is beatable at any time because if you
it's skill based.
If you get good enough, you can. But most people don't play like that. Most people do go get stronger and go find new abilities and go find like good ways of combating certain things. It's about exploring and finding things. And the thing that I like is I said before that it's like they put Dark Souls 4 inside an open world, because Dark Souls 4 is when you go into the dungeons. It's like they're locked off locations.
That's the follow-up. The best thing I love is that if you actually... so in the game itself... I don't think you can get it in-game, maybe in a loading screen, but in like the little booklet that I've got that came with the collector's edition, those dungeons, those traditional Souls experiences where it's like, okay, now it's more of a linear path and you actually have to progress through fighting everything until you get to the boss at the
Unlock
end.
Some shortcuts.
They're actually they're called legacy dungeons. That's what they've been called. It's like, that's exactly what they are. It's like, here's your Souls experience.
Yeah. And
they're just dotted around the world.
And some of those areas can be massive. They'll have their own network of like lost grace sites, because those are the bonfires that you stop at. And once they're there, you can teleport between them. But if you're in a dungeon, you can't teleport out of them. But yeah, the dungeon might be big enough to need a bunch of those inside them. It's just fascinating. I spend so much time thinking about the game, and I've barely scratched the surface. And like there's people that. I love how much people play the game. So reviewers that put in like 100-hour playthrough and platinumed it. And it's like, even having put in 100 hours and platinumed it, they still don't know a lot of the game, because there's just so much to discover and so much to experiment with.
It's a very easy game to finish. I know that. I personally haven't, but I do know it's like if you only do the things you have to do, there isn't a lot there.
Yeah, and you have this skill to do them without spending a lot of time. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like in the first few days, the speedrun community had it down to 2.5 hours, and I'm sure it's lower now. And before release, there's some quote where he said like, "Oh, it's a 30-hour long game." It's like the majority of people take around 80. And as I said,
I'm at 60. And I've just gone back to beat the first big main boss that you can do. Now that said, I killed him in 4 hits because of how much other stuff I've done.
Yeah.
But like the choice of just not doing that, and yet I still have so much other content.
Well, I do like talking to other people about it, and I'm not too worried about spoilers, because the game has so much stuff and so much wild stuff that I either forget or I don't understand its relevancy yet anyway. But, everyone's talking about that tree sentinel, and they talk about, in the game, it expertly leads you up to the first castle where you've got to fight the first main boss. I'm like, it does?
It does, yeah. It points you in that direction.
Well, yeah, it definitely gives you a point.
Just ignore the pointing.
Yeah, see, I missed the entrance to the castle, and I just went up the side path and went past it.
Yeah.
And, like, people act like it was like a gate. It's like, nah, you can just not. And go do other stuff and go into areas that, like, a lot of the game, you can fight most of the base enemies that are around at the beginning. Like, it's not so there's lots of sneaking around, ganking people, especially at the beginning. Like, they've got like lots of caravans and stuff. You can sort of sneak in there and steal stuff, get some cool gear. It is always. I found that I've had to let go a little bit in the game. Where I get a lot of anxiety over like, but what if I put my points in the wrong thing? And what if I find something that does this? I'm like, no, just go with what I have and try to work on that. And I'm sure I'll be fine. I may not be the most optimal build, but I never will be anyway. And once I've become a master of this stuff, I can go back and do a second playthrough and look at all those bloody YouTube videos telling me how to get 2 million souls in the first 20 minutes of the game and do all this shit. I did put on one of those about getting like gear for a build, and I just put it on the background. It's just like literally, what a terrible experience for a first player it would be where, okay, so come out, do here to get your horse. Oh, you've got a horse in this game. I haven't mentioned the horse. The horse is invaluable. Like, the amount of Skyrimming up fucking mountains that I do in this game.
The horse goat that you can just double jump up shit.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they go, oh yeah, so just ride here 10 minutes straight. Just make sure you avoid all the enemies. And the things that you would ride past and see and not understand and not experience because you're just going to ride across the map, run into a dungeon, grab a thing, and then deliberately get killed and teleport back to the beginning. It's like, don't do that. That's a terrible way to play. You'll cover plenty of weird, cool shit on your own. Yeah, and even farming. Like, I got up to this area, it's called something highway. I'm just walking along, and suddenly I've got 1,000 extra. I'm just going to call them souls. They're runes, but they're souls. I'm like,
Everyone
what?
is referring to them with those Dark Souls names.
Yeah, it's like, wait, why have I got an extra 1,000 souls? I'm like, oh, these guys just fight when you get near them. There's a bonfire right next to it. I could just keep reloading and letting them fight and getting 1,000 souls. Like, farming's not that hard. That, like, later on, that would be a stupidly slow way of getting souls. There's much faster ways of doing it. But also, I just kind of get that many souls just going around and fighting things that I come across and like experiencing it. I don't really feel the need to like exploit the system very much. It's like there'll be other opportunities. If I was really desperate to try and get a certain build, maybe. But I'm not. I'm just going with the flow. It is very Breath of the Wild, where I was like, point of direction, explore. See something on a mountain, go see what it is. In this case, it's normally a wizard that kills me. Shit. That's what I don't have any good magic defense. Some things can hit you from a very long way away.
Yeah, there sure is some things. They've really expanded the repertoire of like what exists.
It's, yeah, I do just enjoy, like, I'll just have sessions where I go like, you know what? I've got this corner. I know that there's a map piece over there, because when you first are like exploring the world, you get sort of like a vague outline of the world, but there's literal maps to find which will fill it in. But at least in the first bunch of areas, there's a little indicator on the map that tells you where it is. So I'll go like, look, I know that map piece is over there. I got 10 minutes to spare. I'm going to go for a ride, look at the area, see what's there. Ooh, there's some big bears. Holy shit. And do that. And I'm just going to have a casual play of it. Like, it's a game to easily get engrossed and spend dozens of hours in if you're that way inclined. But I'm also kind of good just doing short plays. And because the world...
Put it up and explore for an hour.
Yeah. Because also, it's like, much like the Souls games, you can't pause. That's someone found a way to pause.
Someone found a way.
I saw that. You go into one menu and go to the map explanation button, and it technically pauses the game. It's like, you let this one through, you idiots. But also, I don't actually need to most of the time, because it's a big world which is mostly empty, and you just like ride 20 seconds that direction and nothing's going to get you. It's fine. Go change the baby, have a drink, whatever. Actually, that was the thing. It actually really reminded me a lot of Shadow of the Colossus. Obviously, there's a shitload more stuff than Shadow of the Colossus in the world, but a lot of the time, the world is very sparse and empty and feels dead, and like something is wrong here. And I was thinking about comparatively to Breath of the Wild, because obviously Breath of the Wild's not like packed with content either, but I never got that feeling. Like, it's a very deliberate sensation and atmosphere they've created, that this is this very lonely world, which is then suddenly filled with invaders and summoned spirits and chaos that you do. I love summoning spirits in this game. I let them do all my work. God, there's so much to talk about. Let's talk about shit. Okay. So, playing on the PS5, you push the map button. And James, what's the map button?
I don't know.
It's the map button. It's the big touchpad in the middle.
It's the dedicated I've actually PS5 played. Map button. The reason I've been so quiet is I've played very little of this game.
I know.
Like, very little.
James, PS4, PS5, it's the map button. That's the only thing anyone ever uses that button
for. The touchpad.
Yeah. So you push the touch button, map comes up. Push the touchpad again. How to use the map, like, explanation sheet comes up. That's not how this is supposed to work. It's supposed to close the map.
It's supposed to close the map.
It happens to me every time, and I'm like, oh, Paul, you're an idiot. The amount of complaints I've seen about this now, it's like, this is actually a legit thing. You guys just don't, like, QA get an external view on this. Like, it's such a simple thing to fix. But no, like, UI, the UI is the same UI they've been using since goddamn Demon's Souls.
Well, there's been that controversy about the UX design from salty Ubisoft developers.
Ubisoft devs.
Yeah, it's sort of like looking at the minimalistic approach that Elden Ring's taken, and like being kind of bitter at it, which I kind of get. Like, you know, they built their career out of making Ubisoft games, which have a very particular way that they're going to build all of their open world stuff, and then this game comes along, it's just like, nah, you get a compass. And
You get a
like, the
telescope that
menuing is
doesn't
very
zoom in very
clunky.
far. Yeah.
It's the telescope's first person mode.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. So they've got. I don't really remember. Either I didn't use or I didn't know, but like the pouch system, like which is additional to just being able to like flick through the D-pad to get to.
I use it a lot.
Thing. The pouch is so much faster and easier to use, but it's like everything else when you inside it in the game, you select it and then you select what goes into it. But with the pouch system, you use triangle instead. Well, I'm using PlayStation terminology here. Use triangle instead of X for that selection.
Yep.
I'm like, why? Like, this is like it really just seems like they just first pass. Oh, that's working. Cool. Move on. Never really go back and look at it. Like everything works, and as you play, you get very used to it. And like, there's a reason. Like, no one's complaining about this in the 10 out of 10. Like all the 100% 10 out of 10 reviews, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day. You put in 10 hours and you're used to all the janky bullshit in the menu system. It's fine. It works. It's just not smooth. By the time you've put in 80, 100 hours, like you've forgotten all the jankiness at the beginning.
That is one of my bugbears about the complaints that people like that had made about being 10 out of 10 or there's really high ratings when clearly there is problems that it has.
Yeah, but it doesn't. But those 10, don't mean perfect.
No, 10 out of 10 doesn't mean perfect. It never does. It's when the sum of the parts make something greater than the whole.
It meant perfect with inside. And I guess maybe Outer Wilds. There we go.
Put to a 10.
Outer Wilds is 11
that
out of
one
10.
Perfect. But
actually, we've got to talk about that another day. James, since the last recording, finally got Outer Wilds into his system.
Oh yeah. I'm still sad about it.
Yeah, we'll have an entire podcast dedicated to that, I think. But yeah, it's not. Yeah, 10 out of 10 doesn't mean this is flawless. It means that it is astronomically impressive and important. Like this is the saddest thing. Horizon Zero Dawn comes out a week later. Breath of the Wild, like it did fine, but it was overshadowed. It's like it fell out of the public consciousness very quickly. Forbidden West comes out 2 weeks later. Elden Ring comes out, which is going to be as influential as Breath of the Wild.
I think that I feel like they've done something similar to when kind of Dark Souls kind of mixed up what difficulty and challenge means in mainstream kind of games. There are so many big open world games that got out of Ubisoft or whoever, like all these companies making big open world games, and then from software come along and just like throw the norms to the wind and just do things their own way. And it sort of sets a new you can do it this way. And then it's interesting to see how this goes on to affect the other kind of big open world games we have.
Yeah, because you go to look at the Breath of the Wild effect on things, and things kind of sucked at copying it. Like they sort of copied it, like what it did, but not the spirit of why it was doing it. So you look at what did Gods and Monsters get recalled? Phoenix Rising and everything. Like it was very Breath of the Wild, but it wasn't really. It was just like an Ubisoft game that looked like Breath of the Wild. Things didn't really the first real successor to it, I feel, is Elden Ring, which of course doesn't just copy what Breath of the Wild was doing. It's got its very, very own spin on it. It makes me, because I don't care about open world games, but then when they're done right, I really, really like them. I really like exploring and finding things and talking to people about it. It's such a good social environment. And the weird community you get with all the messages. You get a lot of try fingers, what is it? Try fingers, butthole, yeah. And a lot of try jumping.
That's the first thing that killed me.
Kneeling, therefore time for head.
Oh god,
there's some good ones.
Before the first boss, people just put a whole bunch of hidden path ahead, those. And those
ones are everywhere.
And I'd forgotten not to trust people, so I was just like whacking every wall in the area.
The problem is you get secret path ahead, and people put them everywhere that could possibly be a secret path, and you're like, I know it's a lie, but
I just got to check.
What if it's not? Like, I have to check.
There are secret
because you know that there is gonna be one somewhere.
Oh god,
yeah.
I've really enjoyed the characters in the game as well. I don't really remember being so interested in following people's individual stories because
that's my biggest change for this from like coming from the Souls games is like I've never been pulled into the lore as much. Like I like the way that they do their lore. Like I like the fact that it's obscured and you kind of just have to figure things out. But I've never really gotten into it or like gotten into figuring out the worlds of Souls or Bloodborne and all that. Sekiro I did a little bit. But this one's really roped me in. I think because it is such a larger world that I kind of want to be like, what is going on here? So like I'm reading all the item descriptions and like the characters and like trying to properly understand who they are and what they're doing rather than just being like, oh, here's a character. I might do something and it'll fuck up their quest line or I might do it successfully and I won't know either way.
Well, I feel like there are more...
like it's pulled me in more.
There are more side quests for characters that you can consciously follow. Like, I've just felt with Dark Souls, I just kind of, like, stumbled on things, and they go like, oh...
Dark Souls had the issue of, like, you could meet a character and they'd say something, and then, like, 3 hours later, they wouldn't be there, or they'd be dead because you did something else somewhere in the world, and there'd be no real way to connect the two events.
In here,
whereas I think
like,
Elden Ring's got a lot more connection.
Elden Ring's got a lot more, like... I was here and this happened and I wish someone would do something about that. You're like, I can do that.
Yeah, you kind of know what triggers things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Souls game, so it still has a whole bunch of obscured bullshit. Oh my lord. Like, shit, it's like, I have no idea what's going on. But, you know, you work it out. Just some of the exploring of... Yeah, I don't know. Because I don't want to get too specific about it. But also, I kind of feel most of being specific doesn't really matter that much. I do just like sometimes when you see like a GIF or something of someone's high-level character, you just go, what game are you playing? I do not understand.
It's like a different area, and some enemy somewhere. You're like, I don't know what any of this is.
And they're like throwing like giant, like you feel like, especially, you know, good builds and also late game, like these people are gods. And I'm just like a guy with like some silly spells and a pointy stick. I don't understand how I go from here to there, but I can't wait to see it. And I do feel like that. And you've played more than me, Sam, so you can. Yeah. My feeling is kind of like for general traveling in general world, you start very, very weak, and that's, you know, I start, you know, not as a great Souls player. I do a lot of sneaking, a lot of stabbing, and I'm getting stronger and stronger. So now I do a lot more like, actually, I'm just going to run in the middle and screw up a few guys, throw down a summon, and like mix it up a little bit. And then at a certain point, I feel like the overworld I'll be almost a god in, but then I'll go back into the dungeons.
You start getting a lot less cautious.
Yeah.
I found this real interesting dichotomy of like, I have this problem where I had this problem where like I don't like running past things. I don't like leaving things like unkilled, even if I've already gone through an area like meticulously, and then I die and have to like, you know, I'm going back through where I revisit places. I don't like leaving things not dead. And I'm changing that with this just because you have to. Otherwise, I'd never finish a game otherwise.
What about turtles?
Turtles I kill every time.
You fucking monster. I had to kill 3 turtles, but they were spirit turtles, so that was okay.
Actually, no, there is a turtle I haven't killed. But yeah, there's this really interesting like balance where you start off, especially at the start of the game, you're like, okay, I've got to take things carefully. I'm going to take out enemies one at a time because otherwise I'll get overwhelmed. And then like you reach a point where you've leveled up enough where you found weapons and you've upgraded things. And you're like, okay, now I can like one hit some of these enemies. I can be a bit more kind of greedy with how many I fight and like what I'm doing, or I can just like run past and not care. And it kind of makes you complacent a little bit. You're like, okay, this isn't a problem anymore. I'm in the open world. It's fine. And then because it's a Souls game, that complacency hits you. And like, you're so complacent and you settle into being complacent that you hit a new area and you're still kind of doing that, and then something happens that just completely destroys you because you're being complacent. Yeah, ballista through a skull, a massive arrow out of nowhere. You know, the few areas where a dragon just fucking flies in and obliterates you. Like, there's so many of those events that can happen that it kind of then throws you back into being cautious, and you do that whole loop again. You're like, okay, now I'm being cautious again, even though I'm powerful, until you get like a sense of the new area or a sense of the place you're in, and then you start being complacent again.
It does seem to have that
a really nice game loop.
Yeah, it gives you that sort of natural flow. And I think that's probably where people struggle the most with it. If they just... people hear that Souls games are hard. So they kind of go, oh, I've hit something hard. It must be supposed to be hard. I should do it. It's like, no, you'll get...
Not necessarily.
That flow will come back around. Like I've never been one to subscribe to this idea that Souls games are like the hardest games around.
I think the biggest lie about Souls games is that they're hard.
Yeah. Like
they are challenging.
Yeah, they're certainly not easy. They're not like shit, like the games that I play that are just like walk around and jump on a balloon and you win. Like, I don't know what that is. Grapple dog, I guess. But yeah, it's like, then I have played much fucking harder games than Souls games and bounced off them and had a terrible time because they were so hard. Like, Souls generally gives you a way out, whether it be like some secret item, like the bloody the Dragon Tail sword in the first game. Everyone knows that. It's like, which I was even thinking about that the other day. So in Dark Souls, there's dragon on a bridge, and the big hack that everyone did was get a bunch of arrows, shoot this dragon's tail from underneath. You get an awesome sword that'll last you for like the first third of the game. It's pretty awesome. But even to get to that dragon, you got to kill at least one boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe two. I think it's only one. I'm like, well, it's still not nothing. You still got to learn the game before you get that thing that lets you have a slightly easier time. But then they are not super punishing games that are there they are there to troll you sometimes. They certainly love a good troll. They love setting up a thing that you go and you'll run down a corridor and suddenly you'll be smashed by a giant ball or something. And that's certainly there. But once you know it's
even though we're now in a world where like enough Souls games exist that we know the tropes, they still get you with them.
Yeah.
You can be expecting it and still be surprised by it.
I had, done a bunch of dungeon stuff and everything, and every corner I'm like, okay, step out from the corner, jump back, because something could get me. Hadn't happened once. I'm like, maybe they don't do it anymore. Nah, I just hadn't been in the right dungeon. Very next room I went into, ganked as soon as I walked around the corner, like two guys stabbed me.
That's the complacency thing, right?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah. But actually, that's the other thing on the E's, isn't it? I do not remember any of the other games being so generous with checkpoints. So you've got your Lost Grace.
They're everywhere.
But there's also these little statues. They're, what are they called? Something. But I didn't even notice I passed them most of the time. And then you die.
They've solved one of the biggest problems with Souls games, which is the runbacks for bosses.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much no
The worst part of the Souls game is losing to a boss and having to run back to the boss.
Yeah.
Through all the enemies.
Now they just put a save point.
It's gone because of these statues. They're like, here's a statue. If you die, you can respawn at the statue.
Yeah. Sometimes it's weird. Like, I'll have just been at a Lost Grace and I'll die. It says, do you want to go to the Lost Grace or the closest statue? I'm like, but I was only 10 meters from the Lost Grace. But you only pop that up if I've passed one of those since the Lost Grace. So I'll just see and I'm like, oh, other side of the arena I was fighting in. There's just one there. Cool. Now I can come at the battle from the other side of the arena. It gives you a lot of more quality of life. It's very generous. There's a certain part of me that I really hate the fact that you can just at any point, as long as you're in the overworld, just fast travel anywhere. Like, just pull out the map, go there, doesn't matter. It certainly makes life easier, but I'm kind of like, but I feel so much more like I was earning stuff if I had to get around the world. But also, it's so big. I would go insane if I had to actually ride everywhere. I think that's when I become like an elderly purist. I think people are going to play this game for goddamn years.
I definitely probably will be.
Yeah, it's
because I have it in my head already of like, I'm finding things that with my current build I can't use, and I don't want to like go change my build or respec or any of that stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm very happy with how my character's going, but I really want to use this thing I've just found, so I know I'm going to do another playthrough towards that thing.
And that's where like the guides of like how to get, like
it's like once you've played through it, you're like, okay, now I can do the quick stuff.
Go get your shit. Go do the
and have fun.
Go do the quick farms that so one of them was like, you had to get 2 million a minute. I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of souls. You're certainly going to be at a level where you want, but yeah, if you're the kind of person that wants to make different builds especially for multiplayer. Oh, that's another thing that sucks. You tried to co-op with anyone, Sam?
No.
It's had a terrible time. It's just like
not good.
Can't find it. Can't work about. Read the guide. Couldn't do. Certainly doesn't explain it in the game very well. Never got into the game. Playing with random people and being invaded. Yeah, that all works fine. I just wish they had a like start co-op game button or something. That would be just nice because you can. I mean, because I haven't done it, I can't see. So I don't know if they're only limited areas that you can summon in, or if they can just run around everywhere with you.
It is kind of limited. So, like, when you have someone summoned, the idea is still very Soulsy in that, like, you have to beat the area boss, but it's very loose on what that definition is. So, like, the area boss might be any of the like 7 bosses that you can find in the area, and then you can just resummon them once you beat one and keep going. But it does kind of lock off areas to a point. But like if you're in the overworld, it's pretty much like, here's the entire chunk of the region you're in, have fun.
Yeah. Because I mean, you can summon in the overworld, and that's what I was wondering. Because there'll be just like gaps between bits. Like, would I lose them and have to resummon them when I get to the next bit? Well,
I don't think so.
I haven't got it working, so I'll have to find out. But yeah, cool fucking game. Hey James, is your wife playing it right now?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she is. She's been playing quite a lot of it.
Yeah, I think she's probably blasted past me by now, but we'll see. I think we've probably prattled on enough about Elden Ring. It's a good game.
I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah, I like.
I think you can go first.
Oh no, you go.
I was about to say, like, the only other thing that's worth mentioning, maybe, especially from a lore story point of view, is the big question a lot of people have been asking is, what did George R. R. Martin actually do? Because it's very Miyazaki. And I went and found out.
Oh, good. I think I know, but so you go.
And I actually really like the way they've done this, because it is very, like, everything about it is Soulsy. It's Miyazaki. Like,
through and through.
It's all his work. So what it is they got George to write the world. And he put all the things together. He came up with all the demigods and like the way the world works, and then shattered it. And everything after that shattering, like the breaking of the world, which is the game you play in, is Miyazaki's work. So like George's work was the world as it existed before the game, and then Miyazaki's broken it, which I think is a really good way to have done that kind of pairing. Yeah,
and I mean, it is sort of like, it's nice, but as I say, so Miyazaki is like, it's like, if it had been called Dark Souls 3, we would have all supported it. But I think it's like, it's kind of nice having someone else's base to work off, and it helps with the marketing. That's always nice too.
It does, yeah.
But honestly, at this point, with the amount of with the scores they get, which last I saw was Metacritic of 97%, one of the highest rated games of all time, probably didn't need the extra marketing.
Probably not, no.
But you didn't. He was allegedly quite nervous about releasing it. So, I mean, it takes a lot of risks. Like, it's like how I said before, like, people just straight up miss the tutorial. The tutorial is so shit that it will teach you how to do things, irrespective of the class you have, which may not be able to do the thing they're teaching you to do, because they don't really concern themselves with this stuff. Because the thing is, in 10 hours, you have forgotten all of that stuff because you're out in the open world having a good time. Yeah. But they're still bad at onboarding, and not in a mysterious, fun way. They're just kind of bad at it.
There is one streamer I follow.
Yeah.
Who got 20 hours in before unlocking 2 of the main mechanics. Didn't have item crafting, and he didn't have summons.
Mm-hmm.
For 20 hours.
I got 10.
Because you can just miss them.
Yeah, I got 10 before I got summons.
The summons especially, yeah.
Because that's actually like, it doesn't tell you that this thing is available. You've got to go back somewhere, and it expires.
At a different time of day. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, if you take too long, it just isn't ever there. Thankfully, you can just go buy it somewhere else, which I had to do. I was like, this is kind of a cool mechanic. Because, yeah, I was, again, listening to people talking. They're like, isn't it great that they just give you a pack of ghost wolves just from the beginning? I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, that's what I went and found out. I just totally missed this stuff. Which is both good. And that's why it's like I say, a group of people is the best way to play it. Because you don't just want
little things like that.
It's like, oh, here's a guide for the 10 best summons, how to get them in 15 minutes from the start of the game. Here we go. You don't want that. But you do want your friend to go like, I went in this cave. There's this... Found a giant teddy bear. It's great. It just sits on the enemies and you stab them. I mean, that probably doesn't exist.
Never know.
Could do. Okay, I think that's enough stuff. Thank you for watching and listening to 8.5bit. You can go to the website, 8.5bit.com, at Twitter and Facebook. Like, share, anything like that. Subscribe. I don't care. Whatever. Have fun. Join our Discord, discord.com, whatever. No, it's not. Discord.8.5bit.com.
That's Discord's website.
Yeah, Discord.com.
You go there too.
Discord's website.
Probably should go there
Go
first.
everywhere. Type in Paul, see what you get. This is like a trial. Hopefully it's worked.
We'll see.
Format. Things will be retooled. We're going to experiment with a couple of things. So the next month or so might be interesting, or maybe it'll be boring. Maybe you never even saw this because it was a complete failure. But I'm sure I'll release it anyway, even if it's just my voice recorded and silence from the other two. Because honestly, that's all.
Most of the show anyway, right?
Exactly.
Yes, the majority of it.
Yeah, but at least I can always say that this show wasn't mine. It was James's idea, this goddamn show. So all I'm doing is fulfilling his wishes with my ego. Okay, catch you later, folks.
Thanks, everyone. Click.
Did James click? He can't.